What is up, Insaners, and welcome to the Insanely Football Deadline Stream, the Game Week 30 Deadline Stream. How are you guys doing? Welcome to another stream. We've reached another deadline. I think it's a bit of a lull, a bit of a quiet one. I mean, of course, maybe not as quiet as I'm saying, but I think it's still, we've had a big double game week. We've had a big double Game Week 29. Congratulations to all of you who scored a green arrow this week. I mean, there were massive, massive scores. I myself scored a humongous amount of points and a decent green arrow at this point, and I think pretty happy with how it went. But yeah, do let me know what were your scores in double game week 20. I think it was a great one. I think a lot of us went for double game week players and we were kind of rewarded. I think the bench boost was, I mean, again, depends on how many hits, etc. you guys took or I took. I think the bench boost was still a kind of a success for last week, and I think we have to kind of build from that platform. We have to kind of take advantage of that score and build that momentum. I think Game Week 30 is going to be a very important one. Of course, the biggest decision this week is whether you are going for Haaland or not, or no Haaland, basically. I think this is a very, very important one. Now, we will talk about, what are the reasons for going for Haaland, maybe what are the different kind of players you can take out, whether to take a hit for Haaland, whether to kind of, structure your funds, structure your money in such a way where you are taking out money from your defense, maybe from your attack, maybe from your forwards as well. I think these are some very relevant and important questions. Of course, there are a lot of people who are not very confident about Haaland starting, and there's a genuine debate and a genuine conversation in the community whether to go for Haaland or not this week, and we will kind of get into all of those details. But yeah, welcome to all of you again. I hope you've had a good rest, a good time, and I think just get ready for this deadline. Do let me know whatever questions you have. Please feel free to add any questions, any comments that you have in the chat below, and we will take all the questions. We'll go one by one and we'll try to answer your questions in the most detailed manner as possible. But yeah, I think personally for me, I think my team is pretty well set because I am kind of very dead set on free hitting in Game Week 32, and I think that's how I've planned my transfers as well. If you see my last few weeks transfers, I think they have been kind of catered to move towards the free hit in 32 and then build a team for Game Week 34. So that was my intention, that was my strategy, and I think I'm pretty much set in terms of free hitting in that week. Personally for me, I think at 32k, planning to get into, or at least aiming to get into 10k, I think it makes a lot more sense to go for something like a Haaland, because I think that his ownership is definitely going to be a lot higher than what it's been in previous weeks. He's already the most transferred in player in fantasy this week. I think already close to 400,000 or 400k managers have transferred him this week. Now you can go without him, but again, there's a huge element of risk considering that his ownership is definitely going to be very high. Plus the fact that he's probably going to be among the top two most popular captains for this week. I mean, Rashford is maybe a close first, maybe a close second. Let's see what happens there. And if again some time to go, but if a lot of people do panic very close to the deadline, I think they're gonna transfer in Haaland and they're gonna captain him for sure. Because we've had certain information that he has trained in the last two training sessions. Pep says he's okay, Haaland says he's okay. Yes, there are a lot of these asterisks, a lot of these question marks in terms of whether Haaland starts this week. Maybe he starts. So there are multiple scenarios here. The first scenario is that maybe he can start and maybe he gets about 45 minutes or 60 minutes. Again, depending on the score as well. If Man City is leading by 3 or 4 goals by halftime, I necessarily don't see a scenario or a situation where Haaland comes out and plays the second half. The other scenario could be that he maybe goes through the half, comes on, plays for another 15 minutes, and maybe then Alvarez gets from the bench and completes those 30 odd minutes. That's number two. The third scenario is that maybe he doesn't get a start, he's on the bench, and then he gets those maybe 15, 20 minutes, maybe half an hour from the bench. Now, all of these scenarios are possible, and you shouldn't be surprised if any of these scenarios kind of take place. I still feel that he's definitely going to get minutes, considering that, Pep is a manager who likes to go for a rhythm in terms of, his playing 11, his players, and especially with such an important tie coming up, which is the Champions League tie against, Bayern. So I think there is a huge chunk of chances that, Haaland is probably going to get minutes. And he would want to give, or Pep would want to give Haaland some minutes before the CL game. That's the underlying assumption here. That's the thinking here. Now, of course, it's Pep, and only Pep does know that what is he going to do in terms of whether he's going to play Haaland or not. But I think that's where I am most likely in terms of his position. Now, again, if you're playing safe, then I think you have to get in Haaland, because in case if whatever rank you have, right, whether it's a 1k, 2k, 10, 15, maybe 100k, I mean, whatever position you're in case if the idea is to save rank, then I think you should definitely get in Haaland, because he is one player that who can really damage your rank, and then can also kind of take away whatever good work you've done in the last week. I'm assuming that let's say you got a green arrow. I think all of that can be undone very quickly in one transfer, which is Haaland not in your team, right? Now, in case if you're chasing, let's say in case if you're in a position where you're very far, or maybe you're trying to gain rank, you're trying to beat your mini league rivals, and you're far off behind, right? And you want to catch up. Now, in that scenario, there's still a case to be made for not going for Haaland, because also the fact that, in Game Week 32, Haaland is blanking and he doesn't have a fixture. A lot of people would play free hits. Maybe if you don't have a free hit, then I think you can make a case of not going with Haaland. You can kind of get away with not having Haaland this week. Next week, again, it becomes a bit tricky. But yeah, again, you can argue that, around the Champions League time, maybe he gets limited minutes. Also depends on what happens in the first leg of the Champions League match. And based on that, we can kind of predict whether Haaland is going to get minutes, or maybe, maybe he gets reduced minutes and all that stuff. But I think for this game, it's definitely looking like that Haaland is going to get about 15, 20, maybe 30 minutes at the least, maybe 60 minutes at the max. Vijay, you're saying with the Pep roulette, you don't see Haaland getting a start this week, which is fair. I mean, it's not a wrong assumption. It's not a wrong assessment. There's a high chance that Haaland doesn't get a start, but I still feel he's gonna get minutes for sure. Hope KDB pays my faith. KDB has been playing really well over the past few weeks. I don't think so. A lot of people are gonna go KDB because the fact that he is 12.1 million, and maybe you can get away with maybe a Grealish, maybe a Gundogan. I think that position, which is basically a Man City mid, is also very difficult to predict because of the fact that there's going to be, again, Pep roulette is going to kick in, and then there is the Champions League game as well. We have the likes of Grealish and Mahrez, who look like potential starters in either side of playing Haaland. But again, with the Champions League game coming up, I think anything can happen. Also, because of the fact that Foden is injured, I think these two are most likely going to start most of the games in the Premier League. And once Foden's back, maybe that rotation kind of kicks in again. But I think we can get away with not having a KDB. But yeah, I think KDB right now is a great differential. In case if you have faith and if you believe that KDB is gonna do well, and if you have him in a team, that's a great shout. It's just that considering that he is 12 million, and considering that we're getting cheaper options, maybe a lot of people are thinking towards going for a Fernandes, for example, or maybe a Salah, for example. I think those are potentially more popular routes, but again, going for KDB is not a bad option at all. Would you do Shaw to Malacia or Odegaard to a 5.7 million mid to fund Haaland in for Tony? So Tony out, Haaland in is absolutely fine. But to fund that, I think Shaw to Malacia. I personally don't think Malacia is gonna get a lot of games because Shaw. It feels that Shaw, or whatever we've read so far, whatever we've kind of discovered in the community so far, I don't think so. Shaw is out for a very long time. Maybe he sits out this week. I mean, most likely he's going to sit out this week. Then maybe he also doesn't play in the Europa League game. But I have a feeling, or I have a inkling that he's probably going to be back by game week 31. So I personally don't think it's going to be I mean, this is probably wasting a position. I'll rather go to Odegaard, from Odegaard to a 5.7 million mid. The issue is that in that 5-ish million range, you have the Brighton mid. So I don't know how many Brighton mids you have. Currently, it's Mitoma. So I'll possibly go, and you have March as well. So that's the issue, right? Because here, Kepa, Trippier, Chilwell is absolutely fine. Burn is also okay. But Estupinian basically blocks your third Brighton mid. Otherwise, McAllister, Mitoma, and March would have been a good try or a good combination. I mean, another potential route is basically, again, just tell me if this works or not. But I think basically downgrading a Chilwell or a Bruno. I mean, I know a lot of people are not looking at downgrading Bruno, but I think that is also a potential option. In case if you want to keep Bruno, then I think there's a decision to be made here whether you want to keep Kane or you want to take out Kane. Because personally, I don't think so. Malacia to Shaw to a Malacia is making any sense. And then Odegaard to 5.7 million mid is also making a lot more sense, considering that you already are pretty much maxed out in terms of your Brighton midfield. So when we look at 5.7 million mids as well, I necessarily don't see much options or many options. You have the likes of Pereira, but again, it's not maximizing that position. I don't think so. I mean, you would need your five, midfielders, because you can chop and change around. You can play a 3-5-2. You can play a 4-5-1 as well. Basically, just going with Haaland up top in case if that's the team structure that you have. But I think midfield is where the points lies, and I'm personally not seeing a lot of options in that cheaper price bracket. I mean, you can also go for Harrison, who's a potential punt, but again, I still feel that there are possibly better routes. I mean, I can downgrade a Chilwell to a maybe very cheap defender, maybe somebody like a Mings, etc. Maybe that kind of gives you some money. If it does, that is also a potential option. Otherwise, Bruno and Kane are the potential routes. I personally don't see any other way of getting in a Haaland this week. Hey, Chill Gamer, hello to you. Welcome to the stream. We'll transfer Haaland next week. Who should go out? Tony, Havertz, or Watkins? I think Watkins personally stays because he's been in good form. He's been playing really well. You know that he's Aston Villa's talismanic player. I mean, he's on penalties. He has been in great goal scoring form. In fact, Aston Villa are a pretty decent attack when we talk about their attacking numbers as well. I think they are doing really well. Defensively, they have struggled, though Mings is still kind of scoring FPL points for us. But I think even if it's the Newcastle fixture, which is basically in game week 31, and then Brentford after that, I still feel Watkins is in that sort of a run, that sort of a form where he can score goals. I think Tony is an interesting one because Tony has a tricky fixture this week where a lot of people, a lot of managers are transferring Tony out for a Haaland because that's an easy route. Tony faces Newcastle, and Newcastle are a really good defense at the moment. Then there's Wolves away, not the most ideal fixture to take out Tony. I think you take a call between Tony and Havertz. I think this is where I will be. Havertz also maybe give it one more week because it's Wolves away. Wolves away could be a slightly trickier game for Chelsea. The Wolves don't really score a lot of goals, so it's maybe a better game for the Chelsea defense rather than their attack. But I think that this should give us some idea because if it's, again, depending on Havertz's performance, if it's not really that great as well, I think you can take him out in game week 31, which is Brighton at home. It's not going to be an easy game against Brighton. Though Brighton defensively are still, they're still a bit vulnerable. They can still concede chances. They can still concede goals as well. So I think the decision here is between a Havertz and a Tony. I think Watkins should be okay. Despite of the tough fixture, I think Watkins should be okay. Have Mings as well. Still, I think I still take my chances with the Tony versus Havertz debate. I think Watkins, again, unless Watkins really gets injured or something like that, maybe, you take him out. Otherwise, Watkins should stay. Hey, Nigel, hello to you. Welcome to the stream. So your team is Ward, Trippier, White, Dawson. You have Bruno Fernandes, March, Rashford, Benrahma, Martinelli. Among your forwards, you have Kane, Haaland, basically two up top. Sorry. Then you have David De Gea, Tony, Diop, me. You have one free transfer, zero point 0.7 million in the bank. I think when we talk about your midfield, there are some really good differential options. I mean, I can't really call Martinelli a differential option, but I think Benrahma is a really good pick still. Despite of West Ham struggling to score a lot of goals and do a lot in attack, I still feel Benrahma can come good. You also have the combination of Kane and Haaland, and it's not that there are some very standout fixtures. I mean, you have covered Man United with Rashford basically, and you have Fernandes as well. No United defense is absolutely fine. I mean, you have David De Gea in goal. I'll probably still play David De Gea because Bournemouth have looked okay. I mean, yes, they are still conceding a lot of chances. They are conceding shots. They're the worst, in fact, for underlying stats for defensive numbers. But I think in attack, they can still do well. And I think I would rather play David De Gea here. You feel the need to change your defense? I mean, Trippier, White, Dawson, and then Diop and me. So it's basically a double up on the West Ham defense, and then you have me from Brentford. And I mean, so I think Estupinian is one option that you can probably look at again, depending on whether you have the free hit in 32 or not. Ward will definitely not play, so he'll get swapped. That's okay. That's actually, I mean, I didn't think of that, but that should be fine because most likely it's going to be Iverson who gets a start. I think when you're looking at defenses or defenders, I think depending on whether you have a free hit or not, I think Estupinian is a great pick. He's not a bad option at all. You already have the West Ham defense covered with the double in 34. Maybe you can look at somebody like a Chilwell again. Depends on your overall strategy as well. So you have no free hit available. And I think in that scenario, you should have an Arsenal defender. You should have a Newcastle defender, which is basically Trippier in this particular team. You can maybe go for a second Newcastle defender, which is, depending on your money again. Maybe you can go for Share. Maybe you can go for Botman as well. I think those are two potential picks which can be ironed out in terms of going for the defenders. Liverpool attack, good double coming. I think Liverpool attack is definitely worth considering. They've been a bit inconsistent, so it's a bit difficult to predict what's going to happen with Liverpool each game because each game they feel like they can score 2 or 3, maybe more goals. Each game they feel like they're going to lose because of the fact that they'll possibly concede more goals than they score, right? So I think it's a bit tricky because right now the only option that is worth considering is maybe Salah. The other picks basically are Diaz coming back, a Jota getting minutes, Firmino sharing minutes. Then you have Nunes as well. There's a lot of question marks in terms of who is going to be, the other two attackers in that Liverpool front three. And because of that fact, it's a bit tricky to kind of invest in a second Liverpool attacker. Maybe you go Salah as one. Then you have the likes of Gakpo as well, who could be maybe a slightly better option than maybe a Nunes, for example. So I think Darwin Nunes, Gakpo would be potentially second option. So maybe keep a close eye on them. Maybe even Jota as well. So those three would be the second Liverpool attacker. First has to be Mo Salah. Again, defense is something else in terms of the category, but I think a Trent could also be a decent pick. But is that they're not keeping clean sheets, so maybe give it a couple of weeks and see before Gameweek 34 if Liverpool's defense gets a little better. If it does, maybe Trent or maybe a slightly cheaper defender, maybe a Robertson as well, is worth considering. But right now, it's just looking like Salah at the moment. I can't decide between McAllister or Mitoma. I feel I should go with Mitoma, but Spurs do concede majority of the chances to the center. I mean, they do concede majority chances down the center. It's not by a lot though. I remember seeing the numbers, and I don't think so. It's by a lot. So I think all three options are actually great. McAllister, Mitoma, and March. In this case, where it's between McAllister and Mitoma, I think depends on how you look at it. If you see the eye test and if you see how Mitoma has been playing, he looks like the best player on the pitch for Brighton. Even from nothing, he has the ability to create chances. He has the ability to, maybe put in a cross, take a shot, score a goal. And we've seen that with Mitoma, right? His underlying stats haven't been that great. I mean, maybe the poorest out of all the three options, but he has been getting the most returns. So I think if you look at the eye test, Mitoma definitely stands out. If you look at the fact that McAllister is on penalties and there's always a chance that a player or your attacker could get a dodgy penalty. So I think in that scenario, basically go for a McAllister. But I personally feel, and I've been backing myself over the past few weeks with this decision, and I've always kind of favored Mitoma. And he has been reaping in a lot of points. He has been giving us captaincy halls as well, which happened last week where I went Mitoma as captaincy. So I think personally for me, it's just by a little bit, it's Mitoma, but I don't think so. It's a huge difference between the three. No free hit available, have wildcard and triple captain. Selecting my team, keeping Gaming 32 in mind. So if you have Gaming 32 in mind, then basically try to target a Newcastle defender because they do have a decent fixture. I mean, it's Spurs though. It's not the most easiest set of games, but I think, so it's basically Newcastle defense or a Liverpool defender. There is Castagna from Leicester as well, but again, Leicester aren't a team who keep a lot of clean sheets, so that's a little worrying there. A lot of people are trying to see if they can actually go very cheap with the Crystal Palace defender as well. They have decent fixtures. Leeds is Gaming 30 is Leeds, then Southampton 31, Everton 32. So if you see the three set of fixtures and maybe you work out a cheaper option, maybe you can go for a Palace defender as well. That is also a potential route, which I don't think so a lot of people are considering. Again, Brentford is again an okay defense, but they put probably better options elsewhere, and maybe you can look at other options over a Brentford defender. I mean, you can even look at, if money is not a problem, maybe again, I know that Man City is blanking in 32, but yeah, John Stones could have been an option as well. Maybe an Akanji or an Ake, but yeah, if you don't have a free hit, then that might be a bit tricky. There's Alex Moreno as well, in case if you're looking for a cheaper Villa option. Yes, Villa don't really, I mean, they are a team who can keep clean sheets, but it's been okay because Mings has been, getting some decent points. I think Moreno, in case if you want to go slightly cheaper as well, 4.4, I think he is at the moment. I think he could be an option as well. So I think this is where I look at when I'm replacing Shaw. I think these are decent Shaw replacements, or, basically slightly cheaper options in the FPL space right now, considering that, a lot of people, or you in particular, don't have a free hit in 32. Free hit to be used in 32 blank or 34 double. So I think it depends on your team as well. In case if your team is very heavy on teams like Brighton, Man United, Man City, I think in that scenario, the decision is pretty clear. Even Chelsea, I think that scenario, the decision is clear that you probably use your free hit in 32. You get in players from the Arsenal team. Maybe you get in a Newcastle player or a couple of players, maybe triple up there as well. And I think there are gains to be made by free hitting in 32. Now, in case if it's a pretty balanced team already, maybe you have options from the Liverpool team. Maybe you have options, like a Madison. Maybe you have a couple of, or maybe even more options from the Arsenal team as well. I think in that scenario, yes, you can make a Game Week 34 team. See which one is better. See which one has more potential, 32 versus 34. If you feel that with the current team, you can easily, put out a decent 10, 11 players for Game Week 32 for the blank, I think you do that. And then try to maximize the doubles in 34. I think this will be the strategy if you have a decent team for 32 right now, and maybe with a couple of moves, maybe with a hit, you can get to 10 or 11 players. I think that should be the overall approach here. But yeah, as I said earlier, if you have players already, or a lot of players already from the teams like Brighton, United, Man City, Chelsea, all these teams, I think in that scenario, it's pretty clear you free it in 32. Whom do you support? I support Manchester United. Have been doing that for quite some time. Sorry for being late when you watch John Wick. Do let me know how that movie was. I wanted to see that. Haven't got the time to go for the movie. But yeah, do let me know how is John Wick. I'm a John Wick fan, and planning to go there very soon before it kind of takes off from the theaters. Why is your team exactly looking like FPL Consult? I don't know. I have not consulted him. I've not spoken to him ever, so I have no idea. But yeah, I think considering that there are more than 10 million teams right now in FPL, I think there'll be a lot of similar teams. And considering that Haaland is a very popular transfer this week, because I think a lot of managers did go for a 29 wildcard. A lot of managers and went for a particular team, which let's say Team A. Then there were a lot of managers who wildcard in Gaming 26 or 27 who went for a particular team again. And then they, because of the transfers that they made, they kind of reached to a team which is Team B. And I think Team A and Team B are quite similar and have been, especially for the double in 29, because they were specific teams that, a lot of managers were targeting, which had doubles. And I think all of those teams did actually really well. And then, many managers have this or have had this transfer plan already because of the fact they went without Haaland, and Haaland is fit and okay now. I think a lot of managers are kind of considering Tony to Haaland, which is probably the most popular transfer by a mile. So I think a lot of teams, a lot of managers would be similar or would have similar teams this week. Should I roll my transfer Tony to Haaland right now? Should I roll my transfer? I mean, is it, if the question is should I make it, or I mean, should you make your transfer, which is Tony to Haaland? I think you should do it. I think it's a fine move to make, unless you're really, maybe trying to go against the crowd and you're trying to chase the upside, trying to gain a lot of rank. I think that's the only scenario I'll possibly not go with Haaland, but I personally don't see. It's a transfer that you anyways have to make, considering that Haaland is maybe 70-80% owned, and maybe a lot of managers, or maybe fair few managers who are not getting Haaland this week will definitely get him next week. So when you already have that transfer planned, I don't necessarily see a scenario where you should, delay that transfer, make it next week. And I'm assuming that a lot of managers did gain a lot by going a little bit heavy in terms of double game week players in game week 29. So why do you want to undo all those gains and not getting Haaland? I mean, you have to kind of pick and choose your battles, right? In terms of which battles to choose, and where to differentiate from the crowd, where to kind of attack with differentials, and where to just play it safe. Because FPL actually is a very patient game, and you have to kind of see it's like chess, right? Because you have to see which moves you make, and which moves can actually affect the game in the long run. And I think Haaland is that one move where you don't necessarily want to go against the crowd. So I'm thinking downgrading Salah to a differential like a Harrison from Leeds or Solomon from Fulham. Still not very convinced with both, but okay. And change Iheanacho to Haaland for a -4. I mean, again, depending on how much money you have, do let me know how much money do you get after you take out Salah, because I'm okay not having Salah this week. I know a lot of people are saying that Salah should be kept, etc., but I think it's absolutely fine. Arsenal is actually a tougher defense than what Liverpool is right now. Yes, Salah is a big game player. He scored against bigger teams, and he has a good record against Arsenal as well. But this is slightly different Liverpool team. In case if you are okay, and if you can get back Salah before 34, maybe in 33 or in 34, I think that is also absolutely fine. You don't necessarily have to have Salah, and you can take him out, go for a differential option, go for a slightly cheaper option basically, and try to accommodate Haaland. I think that's absolutely fine. But yeah, do let me know how much money you have. Maybe we can look out for a better player, because I mean, Harrison and Solomon both necessarily don't look like it. It just feels like a waste of that fifth midfielder spot, where a lot of gains can actually be made, because you see a lot of people do have that double up on the Brighton midfield. They have Rashford, from Manchester United. That is basically 3 spots already locked, and the other 2 is where you can kind of differentiate a lot. So a lot of managers have gone Fernandes Salah, Fernandes Madison, Salah Madison, Saka Madison, Salah plus Saka. So I mean, there are different combinations that a lot of managers have made, but I think those possibly are the better options. Still, depending on the money, I think we can maybe look at a better pick. I have wildcard, bench boost, and free hit. Should I use the wildcard now? Prepare for 32 and bench boost in 34. Free hit in 37. Still, again, we have teams like Man City, Chelsea, Man United, and I think Brighton, who have a double. Free hit 37 is definitely going to be differential. You can keep it till very late. The issue with free hit, so the pros of free hit in 37 is basically you are kind of stepping into an unknown territory where a lot of managers might be very set in terms of their teams. There could be a lot of changes depending on the game state, depending on the league state. Maybe let's say the league is wrapped up by that point, and Man City is giving chances to their academy boys, or doing a lot of chopping and changing. Maybe the 11 gets a rest. Again, depending on whether they are in the Champions League by that point or not. A lot of changes could happen. A lot of maybe a lot of these big players or big game players, or main players or starting 11 players may not play. They may get benched. You can kind of play that lottery at that point of time, and maybe go for a free hit, and you might be in a better position than the other managers who are just using regular transfers and who may struggle to play field a playing 11. Now that's a possible scenario, but then you're kind of letting go of a free hit in 34. I'm assuming that you have a with a wildcard you can easily prepare for 32 and then 34. But I still feel when you're using the wildcard right now, I'll rather try to go very heavy in terms of preparing my team for 34, not really caring about 32 at all, and then just seeing, or just kind of making regular transfers, and then using those to kind of get the best team in game week 37. I think that would be my ideal strategy, because it kind of helps you prepare slightly long term for 34, getting the best players possible, trying to Also get a decent bench so that you can bench boost in 34. And then of course the wildcard kind of just takes care of all of that. And the free with the free hit, you don't necessarily have to care a lot, because if you're wildcarding right now, you'll have to kind of go with the balance of 32 and 34, which may not be ideal for 34 in isolation, right? Because your focus is kind of shifting between 2 weeks, right? So you'll have to balance it out. You'll have to also take care of 32 and then 34. And I just feel not really caring about 32, using the free hit at that point, and then just maximizing your gains from a 34 double. I think that's a slightly better strategy. But yeah, I mean, if you're chasing, if you're kind of going towards a differential strategy, I think it's absolutely fine. I feel free hit 32 is waste of a chip, as I have 7 players who play for 32, so I can wildcard now. In case if you have 7 players and you can get to about 9 to 10 players, maybe 11 players by free transfers, I think it's fine. Again, depends on what kind of players do you have. Because I think a lot of managers who are free hitting in 32 possibly would have similar teams. Yes, the combinations could be different. Maybe, a lot of managers go triple Arsenal attack as compared to maybe going for a defender or two Arsenal attackers. That could be a possible scenario, because Arsenal does have a good fixture. Depending on what options do you have from Brentford or Villa, again, depending on whether you have Madison, and I think a lot of managers on a free hit in 32 would also kind of try to at least go for different combinations from the Liverpool team, because with Liverpool, again, you can go for triple Liverpool attack, double Liverpool defense. Those are some combinations that you can kind of go for. Newcastle versus Spurs is actually a tough game to call, and you'll possibly want Kane. You'll possibly want at least one Newcastle attacker, and then you kind of see whether you want to basically have a single option or defender from Newcastle, maybe a double up, etc. So I think this is where you'll kind of see maybe West Ham as well. So it depends, right? It depends on your rank. It depends on your strategy. Depends on what is your objective of basically free hitting in 32 or 37 or 34. I mean, I'm assuming 34 is not going to happen as a free hit, but yeah, I mean, the ideal strategy still looks like free hitting in 32, bench boosting in 34, and then just rolling with regular transfers in 37. But in case if you're trying to chase the upside, I think you free hit in 37, maybe prepare a decent or get to an okay-ish team for 32, and then bench boost in 34, because you'll also have to see with the transfers that you're making in 32, how good of a bench do you have in 34 as well. I think that's also that's also a thing that you have to kind of look out for. Henry versus Newcastle, or Botman versus Brentford. I'm currently on Botman. Botman still looks like the better option. Again, this is a question that a lot of managers have asked. I think Newcastle, they're still an okay attack. I still feel they're a slightly better attack, or definitely a better attack than Brentford, and that's the reason I'm not very keen on Henry. With the Botman, the difference between Henry and Botman is that Henry can possibly give you attacking returns. If not attacking returns, he'll still play in a very attacking sort of role, which is good for bonus points if it's a nil-nil sort of a game, or maybe Brentford and Henry in particular are keeping a clean sheet. So that's the advantage with the Henry. But I think Botman versus Brentford is probably a better shout, considering I know it's an away game, but I think Newcastle does have a decent record away. They do have a good clean sheet. In fact, I think they have the most clean sheets in the league right now. They're actually a good defense, and I think Botman versus Brentford is absolutely fine. If you feel that it's too much of a risk because you already have Trippier, basically Trippier plus Botman is very risky for you, then you share the risk. But I still feel, so that's one way of looking at it, right? You're sharing risks by going with alternate options. But the other way is also to kind of see whether you can, you back one defense, which is the Newcastle defense in this scenario, and then you get incremental gains, which you may not get with a Henry. So I think I'm personally in the Trippier plus Botman camp, but again, depends on how you see the game as well. Villa only have a good fixture in 30. I mean, the Villa attack is still decent. Newcastle, Brentford are trickier fixtures. 33 is still okay. 34 is United. I don't know what's going to happen with United at that point of time. And 35 is still okay. I mean, they're still okay from a Aston Villa attacking sense. I still feel, considering how Watkins has been playing, I think he's still a great option to hold. But yeah, maybe not, or maybe the Aston Villa defense is not the most ideal defense for the defenders to go for. That's absolutely there. Good luck to you as well, Vijay. Yes, guys, do like the stream if you are enjoying, if you're having fun. It helps us with the YouTube algorithm. And do subscribe to the channel as well if you're new around here. Tony for Watkins, or just play Ben Rama and Martinelli with a 5-man midfield. I mean, Tony, for Watkins is absolutely fine because Watkins does have a great fixture against Nottingham Forest. Ben Rama and Martinelli can also be played, but I think if I'm looking at all three, the potential for all three, I still feel Watkins is definitely the better pick. West Ham do have Fulham, which is also a decent game. Then Martinelli has Liverpool, so I'll possibly still play Watkins. I know it's possibly between Watkins and Benrahma for me, but I think I'll still go with Watkins. I think he's and Tony for Watkins is absolutely fine. Hey Shreya, hello to you. I have Henry, Zinchenko, and Gabriel. Should I bring in Chilwell? Worried about the people owning him, or should I play one of three defenders? I mean, Chilwell does have a decent game because Wolves don't really score a lot of goals. Depends on what's your plan with Chilwell as well. I mean, you're doing a free hit in 34. So what would be the plan in game week 32? Because then Chilwell doesn't have a fixture in 32. So yes, he has a decent game this week. Yes, it's an okay game in 31 as well. I'm not really expecting Chelsea to keep a clean sheet against Brighton, but it's basically one trickier fixture and then a blank. So if you're okay navigating all of those, all these 2 weeks, I think he's a good pick. But I don't necessarily feel that Chilwell is a must buy right now. I think having Zinchenko and Gabriel is absolutely fine. Basically, double up on the Arsenal team. It's against Liverpool, so it's a bit tricky. But yeah, depends on if you're able to navigate 31, 32, 31 with Chilwell and then 32 without Chilwell and have a decent team. I think I'll still go with Chilwell as a decent option. But yeah, he's definitely not a must must buy. Sell Bruno for Saka. Depends again on your plan for 32. Bruno doesn't play in 32. Saka does play in 32. So if you're not free hitting in 32 and if you don't have enough players, I don't necessarily feel it's a bad move. Triple Newcastle defense thoughts. It's a good way to differentiate from the crowd because not a lot of people would be having triple Newcastle defenders. The fixture is not the easiest set of game or the game this week. I think it's a trickier fixture. Then when you look at game week 32, Newcastle does have a fixture against Tottenham, so that's again not the most ideal fixture. Villa away is also not going to be easy. So the clean sheet potential doesn't really look very high. But again, with Newcastle, you are getting a game in 32 and they're decent games in 33 and 34 as well. So again, depending on your bench boost, depending on whether you're bench boosting in 34, and I think for 34, Newcastle versus Southampton is a very good game. So I think that is also absolutely fine. It's a risk because you're hedging your bets with the Newcastle defense, and they aren't the most easiest set of fixtures. Maybe your triple up for me could be a little bit too much. But yeah, I mean, having a double up, playing Trippier each week to protect rank, and then trying to attack the double Newcastle option, considering the fixture, and if there's a lot of if there's a good chance to for the Newcastle team to actually get a clean sheet, I think a double up isn't the worst call. You free it in gaming 34, you have 0.1 million in the bank. So if I remove Salah, I'll have 12.8. I mean, 12.8 can actually get you a lot of players. I mean, potentially anyone can be bought in that 12.8. Worth removing Havertz and Tony for Haaland and Greenwood for a hit. Depends again. If you're going safe, if you are trying to protect rank, you do it. Because Greenwood is again somebody who's not going to get minutes. He's going to be on your bench. So you're dead ending your one spot, which could be your second spot or the third spot in terms of your forwards. But yeah, it's not again a must to do, but depends on how you feel about not owning Haaland this week. As I said, if you're going against the crowd, if you're trying to chase, etc., maybe you see Haaland for 1 week. Maybe you just try or ride your luck this week and then do the move next week. But yeah, I mean, I'll still see if I can get a different option instead of Greenwood, or maybe get these funds from somewhere else. Do Tony to Haaland and then try to get in that additional money from a different area in terms of my players. Maybe downgrade a defender, downgrade a midfielder, etc., and not dead end the spot with the Greenwood. Since Harrison scoring when Leeds to score, hence him, and Leeds versus Palace, I see a goal coming from Harrison. If you feel that Harrison is a good shout, could be a decent differential. I mean, isn't the worst possible option, but yeah, I mean, Roy Hudson playing, managing Crystal Palace, I think the defense is going to be slightly better. Plus, they're doing better in attack, so who knows what's going to happen there. But I think if you feel, I personally am not very confident of a Harrison, but if you're chasing and if you feel that he's a decent option, absolutely go for it. Isak or Tony, I'll in despite the minutes risk with Isak, I still feel he's the better option. Plus, he also has the potential of a double coming against Brighton again. I know it's against Brighton, so it's maybe not the best double, but I think Isak still is absolutely fine. He's definitely gonna not get 90 minutes, so you have to be okay with that. You have to accept it, and as compared to somebody like a Tony, he's gonna play 90 minutes in and out, right? Week on week. Tony does have that threat of getting that yellow card and then a suspension as well. So that's an additional risk. This week it's against Newcastle again, not the easiest fixture. And I'll rather back Isak versus a Brentford than Tony versus Newcastle. I know it's the same fixture, but two opposing sides here. Thoughts on Chilwell to Mings, then a -4 Havertz to Haaland this week. Chilwell to Mings is absolutely fine. Gives you a fixture in 32 as well, where Chilwell is blanking. Again, if you're free hitting, it doesn't really matter. But if this move is to kind of facilitate Haaland, I think it's absolutely fine. Mings, again, he's been in decent form, but expecting Aston Villa to suddenly keep clean sheets in every game, I don't think so that's going to happen. Yes, they did keep clean sheets against Chelsea, but that was an out of form Chelsea. Plus Bournemouth 3-0 was a very interesting result because Bournemouth has been playing, at least in their attack, they have been decent. So I mean, yes, you're not going to get Ming scoring goals every week, but I think if this move is to facilitate the Haaland move and then also give you a fixture, considering that you may not have a free hit in 32, I think it's absolutely fine. Brentford might score against Newcastle. I mean, yes, every team can score against every team, but I personally still think it's going to be tricky because I know it's an away game it's a home game for Brentford, but I think it's still going to be a very close game. And Newcastle still does have the tendency to, keep it tight at the back. Despite of not having the bestest or the greatest numbers in terms of the underlying stats defensively, I still feel there is potential in the Newcastle defense to keep a clean sheet despite an away game. So that's where I am. Congratulations on 2K subs. Thank you so much, Praveen. Thank you so much. It's an amazing feat, an amazing achievement as well. Really, really happy, and thank you so much for all you guys for all your love and support. We've been striving towards 2K since a very long time, but I'm so glad it finally happened, and it was great to see that 2 number and 2K number. Again, it's a small number, but again, we're taking smaller steps to reach a bigger goal. But again, thank you so much. It's been lovely chatting with all of you guys throughout the season, and of course we'll continue to do that. Why not Rashford captain at home with this form and his record? Rashford captain at home is not bad, but I'm a little scared not going Haaland. I know you might think that it's a bit defensive and you may be following the herd or maybe following the crowd, and you're not wrong in that assessment at all, because yes, I am a bit scared in terms of Haaland even getting 30-40 minutes and scoring massively against Southampton. It's an away game for Man City, but then it's Man City and Haaland we're talking about. Considering how Haaland has performed in his last Champions League game and the league game, I mean, there are enough reasons or enough questions to ponder in your head whether you should actually take a risk and go against the crowd. One more, I mean, it's not a point of consideration, but Man United do have that early kickoff, and I think that Gandhi curse could still kind of kick in. But I mean, just kidding there. I don't think so. That's really going to happen. But Rashford against Everton at home is not a bad shot at all. So in case if you're feeling Rashford, in case if you feel that he's, because he has been playing really well, he has been scoring goals for Man United. It's a home game, and I think we're definitely gonna, get on it from the word go. And I think if we score a couple of goals, maybe 3 goals, there's a high chance that Rashford does get a brace. So if you have the heart to not get in Haaland or not captain him, I mean, Rashford there's no doubt in terms of his potential this week. Thanks for the advice. Thank you for joining us. Good luck to you as well. Zinchenko or Gabriel, I mean, it's not a huge difference. Gabriel is slightly better in terms of goal threat from set pieces, and he's shown us in the recent past as well. So maybe just go for Gabriel, but I personally don't think so. There's a huge difference. Hey Brian, hello to you. Would you play Solanke or March? I know it's Solanke versus Leicester, and Leicester again are a bad. I mean, they're a very average defense at the best, but I'll still play March, considering that I know it's Tottenham, so on paper it's a tougher game for Brighton, but Brighton have been in great form. And I think March just needs to get that goal because he has been creating chances. He has been scoring. At least he has been getting a lot of shots on goal. He has been getting big chances. His numbers are really really good, and I think he's just been a bit unlucky in terms of not getting those returns, which can happen this week. Again, we end up saying this every week, and March ends up blanking every week. But I think I still back the Brighton attack over somebody like a Solanke. Solanke generally doesn't get involved a lot, though his numbers are still okay. But he's not a prop. Yes, he is playing as a forward, but he's not a proper goal scorer. He does a lot of this link up play and drops in deep, tries to attack in terms of tries to create a lot of these plays for the Bournemouth wingers and the other strikers to kind of the other attackers, in fact, to kind of make those attacking runs and take those shots, etc. But and that's the reason I think March is a better option, considering that he was also is creative. He can create chances. He can get you assists. He's not been getting us returns, but I still feel there is a lot of potential in March. If you had to choose three from Trippier, White, Dawson, Diop, me, I think it's definitely going to be Trippier. I think it's going to be White as well. And then there's a decision to be made between Dawson, Diop, and me. It's still not a huge deal or a huge difference between Dawson and Diop, but I think I'll still take my chances and maybe play. It's tough. It's actually quite tough. I'll definitely not play me because I think there's a high chance that Newcastle can actually score. And Chelsea has also not been in great form, so maybe there's a clean sheet in there. But I think it's probably going to be one of the options between a Dawson and Diop. I don't think so. There's a huge difference there. I mean, I can play Diop as well, considering that he will be facing West Ham. West Ham are still okay in terms of attack, but they might be low on confidence. It's definitely a must-win game for Moyes, so he will definitely try to go for it. So, and Fulham overall haven't been that great defensively. They still do concede a lot of goals. So I think it's still very close between a Dawson or Diop. Depends on who you back, whether a struggling Chelsea side or maybe a struggling West Ham side, right? It's probably going to be one of those two. Hey Matt, hello to you. Rashford or Watkins captain? I think Rashford is probably the second most popular, or maybe the most popular captaincy. I think it might be close between Rashford and Haaland. So in case if you do not have Haaland, in case if you don't want to go Haaland, I think Rashford is the better option. Now, in case if you're chasing, in case if you're trying to go, a bit differential, if maybe you're trying to catch up on rank, maybe you're trying to catch up on your mini league rivals and all of that stuff, I think then in that scenario, I think Watkins as a differential is possibly the one to go for. The safer option is definitely Rashford. I think the slightly more potential option is also Rashford. So that's where I am. Okay, now it comes down to captaincy. Haaland will play 90. I don't think so. Haaland is going to play 90. He's definitely going to get subbed. Now, depends on how much he plays. Of course, depends on if he starts, he plays 45, he scores a hat-trick, comes off at halftime. But when he scores a hat-trick, I think he's already done your job or the job for you, considering that you will be getting good captaincy points, right? There's also a chance that he maybe plays in the last 15-20 minutes and blanks. I mean, you have to kind of entertain that possibility as well. I think it'll be blind to go with the assumption that even if Haaland plays 5-10 minutes, he's gonna score a hat-trick. I mean, that can absolutely happen, but I think that's the risk that you take. I think it's. I mean, you can definitely go with no Haaland captaincy, considering that a lot of people may kind of diverge from the captaincy decision and may go towards a Rashford. But I think both options are absolutely fine. But yeah, I definitely feel that he's not going to play 90 and he's gonna get taken off, or maybe he doesn't start and comes on for the last 30 minutes or so. But one thing I'm very sure of, that he's gonna get minutes. Play Tony or March, as I already am planning Mitoma, trying to start Mitoma. I think I'll still go for a double up with March and Mitoma. I know a lot of people are also thinking of playing Tony, but then I think if you already have a double up or maybe a single Newcastle defender, I think you see the decision of whether you want to back the Newcastle defense or whether you want to back Tony scoring against the Newcastle defense. So I think that's where I'll still play March though. Do you think Saka will play? I think Saka should play. He was just rested. Like Salah, I think he was rested, and I think both these players should be fine. Though Salah did get a rest in training as well in midweek, but I think Saka definitely should start. Southampton defense has been improving recently. I know they've been improving, but it's again, it's Man City we're talking about. It's a returning Haaland we're talking about, and I mean, considering he's scored 3 goals and considering that he can score any amount of goals in any number of minutes, I'm personally very scared of going against Haaland as a transfer and then as captaincy. But yeah. Have a free transfer. Should I remove Bruno for KDB? I mean, you don't have to. Bruno Ericsson is back in the squad, and there's a high chance that we can get Ericsson plus Casemiro. And that scenario, Bruno's gonna play a lot further up the pitch, and then it kind of makes his attacking prospects a lot better. Especially with Shaw out as well, I think Bruno's gonna be on a lot of set pieces. So it's not a necessary move to make because both of them do have a double in 34. Both of them are also blanking in 32. So it kind of comes down to a decision of which player do you feel is going to get you more points. And again, what can you do with that additional 2 million, or what are you sacrificing with that additional 2 million? So I don't think so it's a necessary move to make. If you do not have any City assets, maybe try to get in Haaland, maybe a defender, maybe go towards an Edison, or in case if you're looking to go for the Man City attack, maybe you can even look at options like a Grealish or a Gundogan, for example. I think they could open up potential routes. Again, it's not necessary to have Man City options this week. I mean, if you have Haaland, I think that's more than enough. But yeah, in case if you do not have any options, can't say that for Haaland, but I think the other options are not really going to hurt you. The other players from Man City not really going to hurt you, even if they score 6, 7, 8 goals. I don't know how many goals against Southampton. So rather make a transfer Dawson for Mings or Tony for Watkins with Benrahma Martin on the bench. I think I'm okay doing Tony to Watkins and then maybe putting Benrahma on the bench and playing Martinelli, considering that it's gonna be Martinelli versus Trent on that side, and I think he can actually run riot. So I don't mind benching Benrahma and then doing Tony to Watkins and playing Martinelli and Watkins together, if that makes sense. What is Tony's XG when he's playing at home? Don't you think Tony will score? Let me just quickly check that. I do have a feeling that there is potential for Tony to score, plus he's also on penalties, etc. But I still think Newcastle are a tight defense. Even away from home, I think they're going to keep it tighter. And I mean, it's going to be a very close game, to be very honest. And I think Newcastle can keep a clean sheet. Despite of the game being an away game for Newcastle, I'm actually a bit bullish on Newcastle maybe keeping a clean sheet, maybe even winning the game 1-0. I mean, considering the form that they are in, and considering that they actually, it's come to a point that they're very realistic about their top 4 chances, and they do believe that they can finish in a Champions League spot. I think they're gonna give it their all, and I think there is potential for Newcastle to keep a clean sheet. I mean, so when we're looking at home games for Tony, the last home game that Tony played was against Leicester, where his XG was 0.16, so it's not very high. Then the game before that was against Fulham, where the XG was 0.91, and he did manage to score a goal. With Tony, it's also the fact that he's also on penalties, right? And that kind of inflates the XG a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's not been very high in terms of home games. The Gaming 24 was Palace at home, 0.11, which is again not very high. Then Southampton, 0.38. Considering it's Southampton and considering that he didn't score a goal or didn't get a return that game, again, not very high. So, I mean, it's not been that high. Yes, he tends to do better in home games as compared to away games. Like Tottenham at home was game week 17, which was the first game after the World Cup, 0.82, and he did manage to get a goal there. But yeah, I think I'd still take my chances and back myself with a double up and rather benched. So my idea was to either just bench Tony and when the Haaland news actually came in, I think pretty dead certain in terms of changing Tony to Haaland. Now, of course, Haaland can blank and not do anything, and Tony can maybe score a brace as well. I mean, we've seen that anything can happen in FPL, but you still have to kind of see how are you basing that decision, and it's a very it's a very personal thing as well, right? Because as I've said this multiple times, in videos and streams as well, there's no one way of playing FPL, right? It's about how you are seeing the game, how you are reading the game. It may or may not be different from other managers, other players, but that's absolutely fine. If you feel that Tony is a better pick and he is is probably going to score, and Newcastle double up defense is probably not going to work. You definitely maybe if you have two Newcastle options, you bench one, you play Trippier for safety, and then you play Tony as well. I think it's absolutely fine. Play Tony or Madison. I'll play Madison. Better fixture at home. Bournemouth are one of the worst defenses, if not the worst, in terms of conceding chances and XGC conceded over the season as well. So I think I'll still take my chances with the Madison. Saka or March. If I'm already playing a Mitoma, I think it's definitely gonna be Saka. I still feel either way it's gonna be Saka. I think Saka is a good pick to play. Yes, it's Liverpool, but Liverpool, and it's at Anfield as well. So maybe Liverpool is gonna turn out or gonna turn up in a different way, maybe. But I still think Saka and Martinelli, even a Gabriel Jesus, all these different Arsenal attackers against a struggling Liverpool defense, I think they do have potential. Botman Share are also an option, as my rival in my league has Trippier and Botman. I think Share is a good pick in case if you have the money. Botman is cheaper for sure, and it's not that Botman versus Share has been a huge difference. But when you talk about underlying stats, when you talk about goal threat, Share definitely has a way higher goal threat than a Botman. Botman is most likely going to give you clean sheets, and if it's a very close game, he's probably going to be among the bonus points as well. Though his last bonus point came against United, which was a single point, and then we kind of go back to game week 16 when he scored one more bonus against Chelsea. So it's not that he's also very high on bonus points. When you talk about Share has had decent underlying stats, especially in terms of XG. His XG numbers against United was 0.37, then against Liverpool was 0.41, against Crystal Palace in 21.33. I mean, I think apart from a couple of games, definitely the Man City game, which they lost 2-0, he didn't have any 0.0 XG basically. But apart from that, his XG numbers have actually been a lot better. In fact, way higher than Botman. So in case if money is not a problem, then I think Share is a decent pick. You are spending 0.5 or I think 0.4, 0.5 million, 0.5 million more. So in case if you want to save that 0.5 and maybe you can do something better with that 0.5, you save that, go for Botman. Right now, the points difference between Botman and Share is not much. It's about 14 points. So yeah, it's not going to be a huge difference. You might just get lucky with a Share goal, maybe a clean sheet, and that might be a 12, 13 pointer as compared to a Botman that week, maybe who scores 6 points, right? So that's going to be a 7-point variance. But I personally don't think so. It's going to be very, very high. We'll take up the next one. If you want to get in Haaland, if I want to get in Haaland, I need to do a -4 and have so many good midfielders, Saka or March or Share on my bench, who I can just play then. I mean, Saka, March, again, it depends, right? It depends on how are you feeling about Haaland, whether you think he's going to start, whether you think he's going to be captain by more than 100%. Because if he does, and if he scores a goal or so, I mean, the rank losses are going to be huge. So you are taking a risk. And by going with Haaland, you are not really playing attacking. You are playing defensive because you're trying to protect rank than to gain rank here. But if your strategy is to kind of go on the offensive, go a bit aggressive, if you're trying to catch up your mini league rivals, gain rank, etc., I think there's a potential strategy to go without Haaland. Play your other options, which is a Saka or a March or a Share. I mean, whichever options you are playing this week, I think it's fine. But yeah, I'm personally at that stage where I want to kind of protect my rank, considering that I had a good week last week, 32k from about I think 55, 60k, something like that. So my rank kind of halved there, and I want to protect that lead by because I know that for a fact that Haaland is going to be brought in. He's already brought in by about 500k managers, and he is going to be captained by a fair few out there as well. So I think depends on, again, how you're reading the game, but I think I'm going to play a bit safer here and just stick in Haaland in there. See, the idea is that, at least to me, I don't think so you would want to go without Haaland in 31. Yes, you of course can go without Haaland in 32 because he doesn't have a game in 32. But then 33, 34 as well. 34 is a great, possibly the best captaincy option, a good triple captaincy option if you have that chip remaining. And I think you can still get away with Haaland till 32, but bare minimum worst case scenario, you would want Haaland in 33 or 34, right? So to me, it just feels like kind of losing an opportunity to jump onto Haaland, considering you anyways would want him later on. And again, it can go either way, but there's still a chance where Haaland can actually do a lot of rank damage to you this week. So that's what it is. One free transfer, 2.6 million in the bank, doing Haaland to Tony, but to afford that, you need 1.7 million. I have Raya, Kepa, Trippier, Shaw, Chilwell, Botman, Estupinian, Rashford, Saka, Bruno, March, Mitoma, Kane, Tony, Watkins. So you take out Tony, you get in Haaland. Now to downgrade, there are a few directions. Maybe you can downgrade a Bruno to a different option. If you want to keep Bruno, then the decision here is to basically downgrade either Kane. Again, if in a scenario where you want to keep both Bruno and Kane, maybe in that scenario you kind of sacrifice Chilwell here, go for a cheaper option, and then I think 1.7 million. So I think Chilwell is 5.9. Assuming you will be selling him for 5.9, and you'll also be 1.7 short, so that's probably going to be 4.9 and then 7. So 4.2 I think would be a price point, or would be the price that you'll be having. 4.2 million is a price point where you do not really have a lot of great options, to be very, very honest. I mean, there aren't really many options, to be very fair. I mean, if it's 4.3, then you can get a Carrere from West Ham. I think he's a potential option. Neko Williams 3.8. So in case if you do not have a free, if you do not have a bench boost, in case if you want to just dead end this position, maybe you do that by getting a Neko Williams at 3.8 and then just stick him in there. I think that's an option as well. It kind of helps you save a little bit money as well, which maybe can be used to make certain upgrades by 33, 34. That's also an option. So it depends on your strategy. Depends if you have the bench boost, then maybe and then again you have to, if in a scenario where you want to maximize your bench boost, then maybe there's a sacrifice that you have to make here by downgrading a Bruno or a Kane, because you possibly need the best possible bench or at least a decent bench to kind of give you points, because Neko Williams on the bench maybe not the great option. Or so yeah, in case of no bench boost, I think just stick in a Neko Williams. I think he's 3.8. Save that money and then just dead end that position. I think it's absolutely fine. Share March or Saka, pick two. I think I'll definitely pick Saka. Has good potential. Between Share or March, I think I'm a FPL manager who likes to go a bit attacking, likes to favor the attackers, and I think with March there is more potential. There's a higher upside. Share is most likely going to be 6 points, 7 points. If maybe we consider Newcastle do not get a clean sheet and maybe he gets an attacking return, I think it's still going to be 6 to 8 points. So I think I'll still back March against a struggling, Tottenham defense. I still feel there is more potential. There are more points to be gained there. That's about it. Trippier, White, Share, or Trippier, White, Dawson, or Haaland, Kane, Watkins. I mean, it's a weird set of combinations, but I think so. Trippier, White, Share, or Trippier, White, Dawson. I think it's still gonna be Trippier, White, Share, Haaland, Kane, Watkins. I mean, if it's a decision between playing these three defenders, or I don't know. I mean, still not able to figure out the question, but I think Haaland, Kane, Watkins for sure. I mean, all three have decent potential this week. And in terms of going for the back three, I still feel it's going to be Trippier, White, and Dawson. I still Trippier, White, and Share. Sorry, not Dawson. My bad. Still the double up on the Newcastle defense. Yeah, Share better than Dawson for sure. Play Pinnock or Botman. Already have Trippier. Depends on how risky or how safe you want to go. In case you're going to share the risk, you basically go. Pinnock, but again, I still feel Newcastle are going to score in that game, and I think I'm more comfortable playing Botman. Bruno or March already have Rashford. I'll still play Bruno. It's against Everton. There's a slight chance that Bruno maybe plays in a slightly more advanced role. It's a home game against Everton. Everton don't really score a lot of goals. Could be a KG game still, because Everton might set up or might shut up shop and might set up in a very defensive way. But I still think there's more to gain with a Bruno as compared to a March. March again, if this was a defender, maybe the conversation was different. But I think Bruno or March, I think it's still Bruno for me. Start Pinocchio, Henry isn't really a huge difference. I think you go with either. I think both are okay options. Both are attacking options. Both have the same potential for a clean sheet. So I don't think so. It's a huge difference. Havertz to Watkins for a hit. I don't think so. It's required though. Havertz has a decent game against Wolves. Wolves don't really I mean, they're much better defensively as compared to what they do in attack. They're the worst attacking side in the league. They're the worst goals scored. I think the lowest goal scored in home games. But that's from a defender point of view or a defensive point of view. But I think Havertz to Watkins for a hit, I don't necessarily think that it needs to be done. If this was a free transfer, if this was a luxury move, maybe you target the more informed attacker, maybe having a slightly better fixture at home as well. But I think Havertz is absolutely fine. You don't have to take. You have to make this move. Haaland Malacia won't go Malacia. Won't take Shaw out. I think it's just a 1 week thing. I don't think so. Shaw is going to be out for a very long time. So I personally don't think. I'll try to get in Haaland through a different route or a different direction. Haaland Grealish -4 for Tony and Bruno out. I don't mind this, depending on the availability of a free hit or not. Because with Tony, of course, you're taking out a player who has a fixture in 32. Haaland Grealish playing for Man City have a good fixture this week. Don't have a fixture in Game Week 32. Bruno again, I'm okay selling Bruno as well. It's not that he's a must-have, to be very honest. I'll rather have Rashford as a must-have option from the United team because of the form that he's in, because of the ownership that he's in, because of the captaincy potential that he possesses. So I think there is more. There are more reasons to keep a a Rashford than a Bruno, and I think I'm okay taking out Bruno, getting in Grealish. Grealish is a good differential, so gives you a decent route to points. But in terms of overall output, I still think there is more explosive potential in a Bruno, especially if he plays in a slightly more advanced role. Grealish has been playing minutes. He's been getting regular minutes. He has been getting starts as well. But he still doesn't look like a player who's going to give you those 10, 15, 20 pointer hauls, right? But Bruno, maybe a penalty, maybe an assist, and a clean sheet, and you basically get 3 bonus points. So yeah, it depends on the risk, etc., right? Because the Malacia option is definitely not the most ideal option, because Malacia, I don't think so is going to get regular minutes. I personally think I'll still do Haaland and Grealish. I don't have a problem with it. You're going a bit risky with Grealish, but I think it's fair. There are reasons to get in Grealish, especially when it also kind of gives you coverage for Game Week 34. Of course, Bruno also has a fixture in 34, but I think Man City is fine. I think Grealish is absolutely fine. I have 1 free transfer left, and I can either buy Share or Watkins. I mean, among the two, I'll still prefer Watkins, considering that Villa has a decent fixture this week. Newcastle, Brentford, not the most ideal set of fixtures, but I still feel when we're talking about attackers and Aston Villa attackers, I think Watkins is fine. So if you have free transfer left, I think getting in Watkins, it's not the most conventional moves this week, because I think a lot of people are even thinking of selling Watkins for a Haaland, but I think getting in Watkins this week is absolutely fine. And I'll rather buy him over Share this week. My defenders in my squad are me, Shaw, Trippier, Botman, Estupiñán. I've always done Tony out for Haaland. So should I remove me for a -4, thinking of either Chilwell or say defender? In case if you have a free hit available and you're using it in 32, and you can afford having a less player, or maybe having a one option less in terms of your overall players for 32, I think going in for City is better, because of the fact that yes, there is those Champions League games and there could be some rotation, but I think you take your bet and you make your bet with that Man City option. Man City could be a really good, getting them early, I think could be really beneficial, especially because of the fact that not a lot of people, not a lot of managers are going very heavy in terms of the Man City defense. Maybe a lot of them are also looking at Edison as an option because they are very confused and very scared in terms of which option to go for, right? Because this is a risk that you'll be taking. You'll be getting in a defender who could get benched anytime, but I think I don't mind the idea of going for a Man City defender. I think it's definitely worth. Now, is it worth the hit? Maybe it's not worth the hit this week, but I think over the next few weeks, plus the double in 34, I think that hit should repay itself. So I think that should be fine. You have a free transfer. You have a free hit. I'm assuming that's FT is basically a free hit. Yeah, I think I'll still do the Haaland and Grealish moves to Tony and Bruno. I may even go without Bruno. I think it depends, right? By 33, 34, if you see that Bruno is actually becoming a great option, then you make a way to get Bruno in. You take a hit, it's absolutely fine. or you just ignore this particular position and you try to get in a Salah, for example. Maybe you have a Kane, you downgrade a Kane and get in Salah instead, or a Bruno instead at that point in time. I don't think so is the worst call out there. You don't necessarily have to hold Bruno, considering that he has a double in 34 and you are waiting for him to get you some returns. I think it's absolutely fine. You go for what you have in front of you. You try to attack the Man City games. When you have the free hit in 32, you don't really care about a blank for Man City in 32, and you anyways not going to have any Man City players for 32, so I think it's fine. Start Estupinian over Botman. It's close, but I think I still prefer Botman. I'm assuming this will be the second option or the second Newcastle defender. So again, if you want to share the risk, maybe you go for Estupinian, but then I'm also assuming that you'll probably have Kane as well in there. So it's directly a competition between Kane versus Estupinian, which again may not be ideal. So I think I'd rather back myself with one defense. Things could go absolutely wrong where Tony scores a brace and maybe Estupinian gets a clean sheet there, but I think in terms of the options to go for, I'll still think Botman is fine. Bench Tony or Mitoma or Saka. Again, not the most popular benching option this week, but I'll still bench Tony. I think Mitoma and Saka have better potential. Saka, despite playing against Liverpool, looks like he can do really well. Plus Mitoma, he's just been that sort of a player who's not really performing in terms of numbers, but he is getting returns and he is scoring. He is getting assists. I think he's fine. Gabriel O'Shea, difficult, but I think I mean it's actually tricky. I still think I'll go Share over Gabriel. It's not a huge difference, but I think I'll still go Share. Ever thought Villa versus Forest could end in favor of Forest? I mean, could happen as well. But I just think Villa have too much in them to score a goal. It's a home. If this was if this was a home game for Forest, I would have been slightly more comfortable with that scoreline, and maybe they shut up shop. And I don't think so. They play defensively anyways at home. They are a team who likes to go on the front foot and like to play attacking football for the fans, and they want to dominate and attack in their home games. But I think 1-0. I mean, won't be surprised if that really happens away for them as well, because away for Forest is more of a chance where Forest play a little bit more defensively and they kind of try to not let Villa score. So I think that it's a possibility, but I still think Villa will score in this one. Henry to Ake, roll free transfer, start Henry or Zinchenko. I think Henry to Ake is fine if you're okay with the slight risk. This is the week, maybe 31 as well as the other weeks, where we may get a lot of, or maybe not a lot, but maybe decent rotation in terms of, a Man City defender getting benched or some rotation in terms of the Man City defense. But I think I'll still do the move to Ake and just play him this week. How confident are you that Saka will start? I think I'm very confident Saka should start. I think he was benched. He was not. He didn't start because of the illness, and I think he should be fine. And I don't think so. There's more to it there. I think it's against Liverpool. It's a must-win game for Arsenal as well. I know every game is a must-win game for Man City, but I think Arsenal also do have to win all their remaining games to ensure that they win the title, because in that scenario, the game against Man City becomes slightly less important for Arsenal, but even more important for the Man City team. In case if they drop points, that game might actually be the title decider as well, right? So I still think Saka is going to play, and I don't see a scenario where Saka gets benched this week. Unless we get some last minute leaks or anything, but I don't think so it's going to happen, because it's not the early kickoff as well. So not very sure there as well. No, you don't have Kane. Your bench would be Estupinian, Botman, Isak, and an injured Shaw. Shaw is fine. Isak is also not the most ideal option on the bench, and one of Estupinian or Botman. Yeah, I think I'll still start Botman. I'll put Estupinian on the bench, Isak and Shaw. I think that's fine. Mitoma, Madison, who's on the bench and who's on the field. So you have Bruno, Mitoma, Rashford, Saka, Madison. Considering that you do not have a Brighton option, again depends on the risk that you are okay taking. Considering that there's only one option that you have from the Brighton team. Ownership, the combined ownership of Mitoma plus a March plus a McAllister maybe goes beyond 100% EO, effective ownership. And if you do not want to challenge that, if you want to play it still safer, you play Mitoma, because you at least kind of cover that major chunk of the ownership, because Mitoma is the most popular player from the Brighton team. If you feel that you don't need to take that safe route and you're okay because you are chasing, I think you go for Madison. Madison definitely has a better fixture, a home fixture as well. Bournemouth do concede a lot of chances. Leicester are a bit of an unpredictable team, and Madison as well. I mean, he's been dodging FPL points since a long time now, but still think the matchup is better for Madison. And Madison is more aggressive and a more attacking play. So you basically start Bruno plus Rashford plus Saka plus Madison, and you bench Mitoma in case if you want to go aggressive. In case if you want to play safe, then you bench Madison and play Mitoma. I think that's Bruno plus Rashford. I think is a very good combination this week. And you play Saka against Liverpool, because Liverpool are just playing like, I can't even say they're playing like Liverpool, but they're just weak in terms of their defensive capability right now. They are conceding a lot of they're conceding a lot of chances. Their XGC numbers are really, really bad. And I think, I mean, Chelsea could have scored 3 or 4 goals if their finishing was even slightly better. And that's how bad the Liverpool defense is right now. Considering that we're talking about an out of form Chelsea, I know the transfers, I know manager changes, I know where there should be, etc., etc. But it was just still an out of form Chelsea, getting those opportunities against Liverpool, that actually is scary. So I think I'll still play Saka. And Haaland starts. Looks like he's gonna get minutes. Not very comfortable, or not very confident, in fact, for a Haaland start. But I'm very confident in saying that he will get minutes. Anywhere between 30 to 60 is what I'm predicting. But yeah, can't be 100% sure that he starts. Hey, hello to you, United. Best defender to bring in today. Also, shall I sell Salah or keep him? Best defender, again, depends on what defenders you have. But right now, I'll rather have, or I would have a Trippier in. I would have Chilwell at least. If I'm free hitting in 32, I think Chilwell is absolutely fine. Would have Estupinian as well. Again, these 3 or 4, maybe a double up on the Newcastle defense is also okay. Retaining Shaw is also fine. You don't have to take Shaw out. I think these would be the defenders to go for in case if you are in case if you're trying to dead end your 5th defender spot, you can go for some cheap options as well. In case if you're not free hitting in 32, then Arsenal defender is also not bad, to be very honest. Sell Salah or keep him depends on if this move is to facilitate Haaland, basically Haaland out and then Haaland in, and then Salah out. If that gives you that money, I think I'll still make the move and I'll try to get back Salah in 34. It's an additional transfer, but I think with the number of people playing regular transfers, taking hits in 34, maybe a few of them also, building their team for 34, taking hits before that, I think that should be fine. And selling Salah right now, getting him back in 34 is also okay. Bench 1, Saka, Martinelli, Mitoma. I'll play Saka for sure, and I'll play I play Saka plus Mitoma. It's not very comfortable, but in case if you want to go slightly more aggressive, you play Martinelli, because in terms of matchups and in terms of chances conceded, I think there's a high chance that Martinelli gets some joy against Trent on that side. So I think if you want to go aggressive, go Martinelli. If you want to go safer, play Mitoma. I'll definitely start Saka. Thoughts on Rashford captain? A great alternate captaincy shout to Haaland, in case if you do not have Haaland, in case if you don't want to get Haaland because of his minutes risk and because of the fact that he may get limited minutes, which is a high possibility. I think Rashford is still a great captaincy shout. It's against Everton at home. Rashford is playing really well. He's scoring a lot of goals, and I think he's absolutely fine. Saka to Gakpo, free transfer, won't do it. Definitely not taking out Saka, who's one of the better players in the league right now, better attacker. Gakpo does give you a double in 34, but you come to 34 when you come to 34. I don't think so. Gakpo is a sort of a player you need in advance to set up your team for 34. I think Saka against a weaker Liverpool defense is a better pick than Gakpo against a slightly stronger Arsenal defense. Shaw and Tony to Malacia, Haaland. Shaw and Tony to Malacia, Haaland won't do it. Or Bruno and Tony to Grealish, Haaland, or Kane to Haaland. I'll do Bruno and Tony to Grealish, Haaland. I don't have a problem with that. I'll try to keep Kane at least for the next 2 fixtures. I think it's worth keeping Kane for the next 2 games. and I don't see myself selling Kane as well, because of the fact that Brighton do concede chances. There are there are opportunities to gain there. Bournemouth again do are in fact really bad defensively. They're in fact the worst for chances conceded for the season, and since the FPL restart as well. Newcastle, Man United, Liverpool is a slightly trickier run. So maybe by game week 32 is when I try to then deviate from the Kane move or the Kane pick, and then try to get in a different option. Maybe a doubler for 34, maybe a Gabriel Jesus to enable funds to get in a doubler in midfield as well. I think those are potential options, but I think I'll still want to keep Kane for the next two. But if I want to start from me or Zinchenko, I will still start Zinchenko. I think, yes, it's against Liverpool, but I still think there is potential considering that Liverpool isn't that great defensively, and Zinchenko can even get some joy on the attacking side, basically the defensive side of Liverpool, and in the Arsenal attack. Havertz or Tony, on form, it's Tony, but I think if you're trying to go aggressive, then start Havertz. Who to bench between March, Mitoma, and Martinelli? I'll play Mitoma and Martinelli and then bench March. Again, it's not ideal because any of these three players can score, and you'll definitely end up with some bench points this week. But I think I'll go safer with Mitoma, and then I'll also stick in Martinelli because Liverpool are actually quite weak on that side. And yeah, that's what I'll do. Havertz and Saka for Pereira and Haaland Kane. Basically taking out Havertz and Saka and then getting in Pereira and Haaland. With Pereira, it just feels like you are kind of wasting that fifth midfielder spot. He does double in 34, and then Mitrovic is also not there. So maybe a lot of these attacking plays, a lot of the attacking impetus is on Pereira, and he does give you a lot of money, considering that you can easily make the Haaland move as well. But I still feel I'll look at other options to get in Haaland and not get in Pereira. Start Tony or Odegaard. I'll start Odegaard. Keep Haaland or 1 week punt on Watkins. Since I don't know if Haaland will start, I'll still keep Haaland. I mean, I don't necessarily would want to make that Watkins switch. I know Watkins is a better fixture. Maybe not a better fixture, but yeah, in terms of X minutes, in terms of expected minutes, I still think Watkins is going to outscore Haaland for minutes. But I think you have Haaland, you keep Haaland. Is Haaland necessary? Can easily save a transfer. In case if you're playing defensive, in case if you're trying to protect rank, I think Haaland is necessary because he does have the potential to hurt your rank this week. In case if that's not the strategy here, in case if you are okay going against the crowd, because the crowd is going for Haaland, right? So his ownership is going to be high. Any hauls will hurt your rank, and that's where you have to kind of make that decision of getting off Haaland, basically not having Haaland, or just going for Haaland this week. I think at my rank and the way I'm thinking, the way I'm looking at it, I've made some considerable gains last week. I think almost half my rank, and I'm trying to protect my position here. Doesn't feel like a week where there is enough worth in going against Haaland, and Haaland is a player that you would anyways want from 31, if not 32, 33, then and 34 double as well. And I think you make the move. How about a 1 week punt for Grealish in Fernandes out, since he will continue? I mean, there's a high chance that he plays deeper, and I think it's okay. In case if you want to punt right now and take out Fernandes, this is the week to do that. I think 32, yes, he's blanking, so you kind of get away with not having Fernandes there as well. 33 and 34 are actual weeks where Fernandes could play in a slightly higher role, and maybe he gets a lot better in terms of his attacking potential as well. So I think if you're punting right now, you punt right now, go for a Grealish in. There's a slight risk with Grealish as well, considering that, Man City has a UCL as well. And I think there's a high chance that Grealish starts in that week as well, considering that, Foden is injured as well. So I think if you want to punt, you punt right now and kind of get away with it with that game week 32 blank as well. Grealish or Odegaard, Martinelli. I think all three players have decent potential. In case if you're playing safer, you go for somebody like an Odegaard or a Martinelli. I think both options are actually great. Martinelli may be better because of the fact that he's going to play against Trent that side, and I think Trent is going to struggle a lot. But yeah, in case if you're going aggressive, going against the crowd, I think Grealish is probably the better option. I'm scared of Fernandes penalty. I mean, yeah, I've also been bitten by the fact that Fernandes has gotten those jammy penalties last season, especially, and he got those double-digit fouls, etc. Maybe it's a winning goal and he gets 3 bonus points as well. Maybe a clean sheet as well. So that kind of just gets him a 10 12 pointer haul. But that's the risk that you take, right? Man City, on paper at least, it looks like Man City is going to have an easy game against Southampton. On paper, it looks like players like Grealish, KDB, Haaland have good attacking potential. Players like Diaz, Ake, or maybe an Akanji, even an Edison have good clean sheet potential. And then you have these midfielders like Gundogan, Grealish, etc., who have again decent. I mean, they will get that additional clean sheet point. Plus, they can also contribute in attack, because it just feels like a game where Man City can easily score 5 or 6 goals, if not more, and then destroy Southampton. I mean, yes, a lot of us are kind of expecting that result, but I think the FPL Twitter space and the FPL space in general, I think it's going to go absolutely bonkers if Southampton are able to, maybe get it to a 1-1 draw, maybe a 1-0 win. I don't think so it's going to happen, because Man City are too strong for Southampton. But I mean, we've seen weirder and odder results in football and in FPL. Kind of a headache this way. I mean, that's the actual headache, right? Predicting how much can Man City score, or what kind of performance can Southampton put up against Man City, and whether Haaland is going to start or not. I think that's the only bigger, or the only doubt that FPL managers do have this week. I think I'll do that. Foden still. I mean, yeah. So if it's a very short term punt, there is no harm in taking off Fernandes, and I mean, he gets a penalty. You take that on the chin, and then you just move on from there. I think that's what it is. Still don't know what to do. Fernandes and Isak out for Haaland, sorry, and a mid under 6.6. I mean, you have some okay options under 6.6. I'm not sure how much you're packed up with the Brighton mids, but I think you can definitely go for a Brighton mid, or maybe add on to your Brighton mids. Maybe you have a Mitoma, March, McAllister. I don't know which one, but you can double up if you do not have a double up already. In terms of the other options under 6.6, we'll quickly have a look. There's Martinelli, who's decent, who has a fixture in 32 as well. So if you're not free hitting in 32, I think he's a decent option. I mean, if Barnes, if he would have been 6.6, I think he would have been a good differential as well. But sadly, he's not. Martin McAllister, Willock is. I mean, yeah, Willock is also an interesting option. Again, don't think so. A lot of people are going there. I mean, there are some question marks on his minutes as well, but yeah, he's 4.7, so he does at least. The advantage of going Willock is that he will definitely give you funds to make certain upgrades, or maybe just keep that money in the bank, use it for 34, or at least the planning for 34. That's one way of looking at it. The other thing is that maybe Willock is not the best option. Maybe you go, you try to double up. If you've not doubled up on the Brighton, I think on the Brighton mids, basically, I think you definitely do that. But yeah, otherwise, I think Martin is also a decent pick. He can actually do well. Grealish is how much? I think Grealish is not sure. Let me just quickly check his. I think he's also 6.7, 6.8, something like that. 6.9. So yeah, he's not an option. Sell Madison or keep. I'll keep him this week because of the fact that he has a good home game against Bournemouth. Bournemouth aren't really a great side defensively. They do concede a lot of chances. They're the worst for goals conceded, XGC conceded as well over the season as well. So I think there is potential for Madison. So you maybe just give him one more week because of the fact that he's facing Man City in 31. I think you take a call. Then you either bench him for 31 because he has decent fixtures in 32, 33, 34 as well, I think. And or you just sell him for for somebody who has a double in 34. So that's the decision to take in 31. But I think right now you keep him for Bournemouth at home, and then just see what happens. I missed the bench boost last week. Any other weeks to do it? I think 34 is also a decent week to go bench boost. I think teams like Newcastle have a good fixture. I think a lot of people would have a double up on the Newcastle team. Maybe a lot of them also do have Isak, for example, as one of the three forwards. So I think a bench boost of Isak, Botman or Share, I think that could be okay. I think a lot of people also might have a Madison by that point. So you can put Madison on the bench, play maybe a 3-4-3 or 4-4-2, and then have Madison on the bench as well. Again, West Ham, it's not the most straightforward game for West Ham, but they do have that Crystal Palace game as well. So I think maybe if you have a Eguard, for example, or a Zuma, for example, as your fifth defender, I think that is also okay for the bench boost. So I think 34 is basically what I'm trying to say, is that if you've missed it right now or till now, I think 34 is the one or the week to go for. What to do with Shaw? You keep him on the bench, thinking of taking another -8 to sell Shaw, Fernandes, and Isak for Haaland, Martin, Akanji. I mean, you are taking an additional hit. If you can do without selling Shaw, I think it's fine. You just keep him on the bench and you play your fourth defender as your three-man defense, or as your fourth defender in a 4-4-2, for example. If you're playing with four defenders at the back, but if you're taking -8, and I'm assuming that you will be having a free hit in 34, because you'll end up having a lot of players not having a game in 32, right? Haaland doesn't have a game in 32. Akanji doesn't have a game in 32. You're taking out Fernandes, who has a double, which I think is fine. But yeah, you're still taking out Fernandes with the double in 34 and getting in Martinelli, who doesn't double in 34, but does give you a fixture in 32. To me, it seems fine, but I personally don't think so. You need to sell Shaw. But if this move is to facilitate those funds for Haaland, I think I'm okay, because anyways, you are gaining yourself a Kanji who has a decent fixture right now. Of course, no fixture in 32, so you free hit in 32 if you have it, and then you basically get that double in 34. So I think that's fine. Bench me or Botman. I'll bench me out of the two. Botman has a slightly higher chance of keeping a clean sheet this one. I think Newcastle are in better form, and with the combination of Isak and Isak playing, and then Wilson also getting fitter, I think there's much more to gain for a Botman and a Newcastle team as compared to me. So I think the motivation levels is going to be a lot higher. I think right now is the time where they actually believe that they can finish in a Champions League spot, and I think they'll absolutely go for it. Considering that they have a much superior goal difference as well, I think they would want to keep it very tight and not concede goals. And I think Newcastle, even when you talk about the defensive numbers, right, they are a very good defense. So I think I'll definitely keep or bench me and start Botman. Last question: if I sell Fernandes for a punt, his price opens up more options. I mean, yeah, of course, they do open up a lot more. So I still feel if it's a 1 week punt, Madison is not a bad shout. Odegaard, Martinelli, Rodrigo, Bowen. I mean, yeah, it's possibly going to be between Grealish and Madison for me, and I think the more upside pick is Madison, because he has the potential to get those double-digit hauls. He's not done that so far for us, but I think for a single week, I think not opposed to Madison as well. I think the fixture is really good at home, and I think he can do really well. Rashford, Watkins, Salah, Madison for captain. I do not own Kane or Haaland. All the best. I think Rashford is a straightforward option in a case where you do not have Haaland. In case if you don't want to go Rashford, maybe because of safety, maybe because of the fact that you feel that this is probably a week for you where you can do or you can gain a lot in terms of points, I think Watkins is then the pick to go for. Salah, Madison are still options. I'm not very comfortable captaining. They're okay as picks. Salah maybe. Salah does have a trickier game against the Arsenal defense. Madison does have a good game, but Leicester is a difficult team to predict. So I'll possibly stick to the Rashford versus Watkins debate. And I think depending on whether you want to go safer or you want to take a risk and go against the crowd, you go for Rashford or Watkins, right? Personally, for me, I think I'll still go Rashford, but I think Watkins is also a good pick. Saka and Tony to Grealish and Haaland or Shaw. Saka and Tony to Grealish and Haaland. Or Shaw and Tony to Moreno, Martinez and Haaland. I think Shaw. You don't have to do the Shaw move because Shaw is. I think he should be okay. But in case if you want to get in Haaland, I still feel I won't not very comfortable taking out both Saka and Tony. I think I'll want to keep Saka and then basically doing the Shaw to Moreno move and then Tony to Haaland move is to me it feels like a lot more comfortable. Should I transfer Haaland for Kane if I've got no money to take Tony out for Haaland? You see if you can afford to take out Haaland and then basically get in Haaland and take out a different player. In case if you can't, there is no possibility. Let's assume the worst case scenario here. You are in a position where your team doesn't have any options to take out, get in enough money, and then get in Haaland. that's the decision, or then you have a decision to make, because Kane does have two decent fixtures. And if you're okay letting go of Kane, I mean, you do the Kane to Haaland move right now, and then you just hope and pray that Kane doesn't really score, because he has been one of the most consistent forwards or players in the FPL game this year. He's not far off behind Haaland as well. Yes, of course, he's played much more than Erling Haaland in terms of minutes, etc. But I think Kane still is one of the most consistent players in the Tottenham team and among forwards and overall as well. So, I'm personally not very comfortable taking out Kane, but I think it depends on how badly do you want Haaland, and if you've locked out yourself in terms of any other potential moves of getting in Haaland, I think you do the switch. But yeah, I won't be very comfortable, and I won't be sleeping well if I do the move. Play Henry or Estupinian. I'll play Estupinian out of the two. Good luck this week. Good luck to you as well. And let's hope that Haaland starts and he does really well. Start Tony or Havertz. I'll still start Havertz. I mean, it's very close, and I think I answered this question before as well. Not a huge difference, but if you have a double Newcastle defense, I'll still back that defense and then go Havertz. If you want to share that risk, then you maybe go Tony. But I still think among the two players, among the two teams, I think Havertz and Chelsea do have a better fixture. What do you think of Kane as captain, or even Chilwell? Chilwell's kind of crazy about Kane. I mean, Chilwell isn't that crazy because of the fact that Wolves. I mean, they're an okay defense, but they personally don't score a lot of goals, so that really spells good when we talk about clean sheet potential for Chelsea and Chilwell. Chilwell, we know he plays in a very attacking role, so there is potential for attacking returns, and I think Chilwell can do absolutely well, absolutely fine. Kane is a bit tricky because it's Brighton. I don't think so. Brighton are a team who are a defense first team in any scenario, whether it's an away game or whatever. So I still think, I mean, there is potential for Kane, but it's a very tricky fixture. If this was Madison or maybe a different option, let's say a Haaland or a Rashford, for example, I would have been more comfortable. But yeah, between the two, it's definitely Kane. But I'm not very comfortable with Kane captaincy. He's okay, but he's possibly not the top three options that I have in mind. I'll rather go Watkins if I do have that option over Kane. Should I take out Martinelli for someone? I mean, you don't have to. You can play him this week. It's against Liverpool. Liverpool are struggling in defense. In case if you want to play that, let's say if you have the double Brighton midfield, you play that midfield over Martinelli. That's also fine. You don't have to take him out. If you want to take him out and take a slight chance, maybe a Grealish is an option that you can go for. Again, depending on your money, if you have a lot of money in the bank, there are options like Madison may not be a long-term pick, or the preferred option in 31 because he faces Man City that week, so that's going to be a trickier game. But yeah, don't necessarily have to take out Martinelli. Between Mitoma and McAllister, who would you start? I'll start Mitoma. I've been following this rule of thumb since a very long time now. Mitoma doesn't have the greatest numbers. Definitely not. It's close between McAllister and Mitoma in terms of numbers, but I still feel McAllister has better numbers. But the fact that Mitoma has been great on the eye test, he looks like the most involved player in the Brighton team. He even looks like a player who can get in something from absolutely nothing, which may not be the case with McAllister. McAllister, yes, gives you the advantage of someone being on penalties and scoring from penalties if he gets one. But I think McAllister is not a great finisher. We've known that for some time now. Mitoma is definitely a much better finisher. And even if McAllister does get those chances, he's not able to finish, and that's why he's underperforming on his XG numbers as well. That's, I think, enough reason for me to start Mitoma over McAllister. I mean, yeah, we can sit here and debate the fact that, maybe McAllister also plays in a slightly deeper position, etc. That may not happen though, but I think I'll still start Mitoma over McAllister. If I have Haaland and Stones already and want a third Man City player, for Gameweek 34, who should I get in? I'm between Ake and Grealish. I'll still go Grealish, considering the fact that you do not want to invest so much in the Man City defense. I mean, you already do have Stones. I think the better play here would be to attack the Man City double in 34 and then get an attacker. Yes, there's always a chance that the attacker maybe gets limited minutes, maybe gets benched in one of those games. And it depends on Foden's availability as well, right? If Foden is available by 34, which I'm not very sure of, but yeah, if he is available, I think there could be some rotation among the attackers. But I'd still back myself and go for the attacker because there's much more to gain there, and there's the point ceiling is a lot higher with somebody like a Grealish as compared to, the second Man City defender, because most likely Man City defenders are going to be 6 points or maybe two or less. I don't think so. They generally concede two or more goals, so it's going to be 2 or 6 points at max. Maybe if it's a close game, maybe they come into bonus points as well. And if Haaland is not scoring the way he is, then there's possibility of maybe getting bonus points for that player, but not very confident there. Should I transfer out Fernandes for a different midfielder to get in Haaland in? Who should I replace it with? Replace Fernandes with? So Fernandes can be brought down to a Madison. Again, depends on how much money you want to raise. Fernandes can be Madison, but you have to figure out a way to deal with the game week 31 fixture for Leicester City. Otherwise, I think Madison is still a decent hold. Or you can go Martinelli in case if you're not free hitting in 32. That's also an option. In case if you have a free hit and you don't necessarily have to worry about 32 fixtures, I think you can go Grealish as well. That's also a potential option. But yeah, it depends on the money that you want to raise for Haaland, and based on that, you have these different tiers of options. Bring in Martinez, Moreno from Villa, Mings or Zuma. I definitely won't go Martinez. I don't think so. There's enough to go for a Martinez. I'll rather stick with Shaw, hope that he's fine, and I think he should be okay for 34. Moreno is not a bad shout. I don't think so. There's a huge difference between Moreno and Mings. I mean, you would still probably say that Moreno maybe gets slightly lesser minutes as compared to a Mings. So in case if you wanna, have absolute surety in terms of minutes, I'll possibly look at Mings. Both are the same price, so I'll maybe just stick in Mings as well. He's okay for bonus points. Maybe he can get you an odd goal as well, as he did or has done in the last few weeks. So yeah, I'll still think to go with the Mings. In case if you are looking at this option for 34 as well, maybe you want to play a bench boost and you want to, so if there's no bench boost available, I think Mings is absolutely fine. In case if you want to play a bench boost and you're thinking of maximizing your 34 doublers as well, in that scenario, maybe a Zuma is okay. But I mean, yes, West Ham haven't really looked that great defensively. They did concede 5 goals against Newcastle very recently, and I'm still not very sure about their potential. But yeah, it depends on your decision for 34. And if this is just a player that you are okay, happy sticking on the bench for 34, I think Mings is absolutely fine. I got the same team as you. That's great. Let's hope that this team does actually well. But Martinelli instead of Madison, should I roll my transfer? I don't think so. You need to do anything else. I think Martinelli in isolation as well this week is absolutely fine. Can't afford Madison for Martinelli in that case. I mean, Martinelli to Grealish is possibly the only move that you can make. Again, if you want to go a bit risky, a bit aggressive, you go Martinelli to Grealish. But the split side or the other side is that basically you see Grealish for one more week. It's like a test for him for this week, and then if he's fine, if he's playing okay, if he's getting minutes and he's getting involved a lot, because the picture is definitely good for a Grealish. You get him in maybe next week or the week, not the week after, because game week 32 Man City are blanking. But for 33, 34, it's kind of a test for for getting in a second Man City attacker, considering that you would have Haaland as the first Man City attacker or the first Man City option, or even a defender later on. But I don't think so. You need to make a move. Necessarily make a move this week, not required. Should I sell Kane for Haaland? Again, not the most ideal scenario, but it depends on two things, right? Do you have a differential or a different route to get towards a Haaland? If yes, try to explore that route. If that route also means that you take a -4, you do that -4, not a problem. Because I seriously feel that Kane has potential for this week and next week as well. And I would want to keep him for these 2 weeks. But if you feel that, you're okay, Kane is dispensable and you don't have to keep him, Brighton is probably a trickier game than I'm expecting, or maybe you think that it's going to be a tough game for Kane. You sell him and then you get in Haaland. But Kane has been one of the most consistent players for Tottenham and for Spurs, and I think I won't be as scared as maybe not having Haaland. I think Kane is still okay letting go. Not the most ideal player to let go, but I think it's fine. And again, if you are okay not having Haaland this week, I think you keep Kane and get in Haaland 31, but there are a lot of risks there as well. So first I'll try to see if I can, how much money I have in the bank, and if I can find a different route to get in, keep Kane and then get in Haaland. I think I'm okay. Also, it's not a very popular route, but I think I'm personally okay letting go of Fernandes or even Salah this week, and then getting in Haaland, getting that structure in place so that I do not have to figure out other ways to get in Haaland, and then seeing what I can do for 34, or whether to get in a Fernandes, whether to get in a Salah, maybe also keep my options open to get in a Gakpo, etc. if they feel that they become better options. So, would you start March or Martinelli? Depends on the risk that you want to take. I think the more aggressive pick is Martinelli against Liverpool. It seems foolish, to be very honest. It seems stupid to play Martinelli against a much tougher side, because it's, to be very honest, though it's not a huge difference between a weaker Tottenham defense and a weaker Liverpool defense. The only difference I think could be that maybe Liverpool turn up much better than they have, especially because of the fact that it's at Anfield and they would not want to, play like that in front of their fans. I think that's absolutely a possibility, but I think it's not a huge difference. I think Martin is maybe, to me, if you already have a Mitoma or a McAllister, for example, and March is a second Brighton option, I think Martin is absolutely fine. Martinelli or Grealish for Fernandes? I think both options are good, but I'm not going to sit on the fence here. If you have a free hit available, if this move is also keeping Gaming 32 in mind, then you go Martinelli. Otherwise, you go Grealish. You take him out on a free hit in 32. You get in Martinelli in 32 for a free hit, and then you get back to a Grealish in 33 and 34. Of course, Grealish does have a double in 34 as well. So that's the advantage with the Grealish. There's a slight risk in terms of minutes, considering the fact that Man City are in the Champions League fixture as well against Bayern. Over two legs, two additional games, which the Arsenal midfielder is not going to give you. That's the slight difference or the advantage with a Martinelli, but I think Grealish is fine. I sold Saka for Madison in a rush and took a -4. That's okay. I mean, if you've done that, it's fine. Saka is not the most ideal player to sell. And Madison also, you have to deal with him next week because he has that tough fixture against Man City. Saka does have a better fixture, I think. Let me just quickly check. Gimme 31 is... Yeah, it's West Ham for Saka, and I think West Ham's defense has not been very inspiring. So not the most ideal thing, but I mean, if you've done it, you've done it, and you just roll with it and see what happens. It's fine. March or Martinelli? I think I've answered this, but to me, Martinelli may be a better pick considering matchups, etc. And plus, if you already have Mitoma playing, I think you can play Martinelli this week. Guys, we have about 40 minutes to go before the deadline. Please hit like, please hit subscribe if you're new around here. If you feel that this has been helpful, please do subscribe to the channel and help us grow even further. Thank you so much again to all of you who have joined us today. And your support has been absolutely crazy. We've recently hit 2K subscribers, and a massive thank you to all of you. What should I do, Danny Butcher? So you've posed a question here. Prioritize Tony to Haaland or sort out my defense. You've got Trippier, Estupinian, Henry, Shaw, Badiashile. I hope that's the right pronunciation, but I'm sorry if I've got that wrong. Or a -4 and do both. I'm okay doing a -4, and I mean, depends on what are you trying to sort out in defense. I'm assuming you'll want to take out Shaw. Not required. You can keep Shaw. I think he should be fine for 34, at least for 33, 34, considering that there's a break in 32 as well. I think he should be fine. The Chelsea defender, yes, you can take him out and go for a different defender, but again, it's not necessary this week. Wolves aren't really a team who score a lot of goals, so you can just keep him in. Has he been starting games? Because we've been so focused on the players like Chilwell and James. I think not a lot of people are considering other options. I think, yeah, I mean, if this is a playing option, you take a -4 and then you get in a different option. If this is a benchable option, considering that you also have Shaw on the bench, and then you basically are stuck with Trippier, Estupinian, and Henry, which is again not the most ideal trio in defense, you take a -4, sort this out. But I think Tony to Haaland is absolutely fine. You do it this week. I'm assuming that you anyways would be doing this in 31, if not later. Rather than that, just do it this week and take a hit for a defender and try to go for a defender who has a double in 34. Again, it also kind of depends on whether you're free hitting in 32 or not, but if you are free hitting in 32, try to maximize this with a Man City defender, with maybe not the West Ham defense, because Man City defense is still a lot better than the West Ham defense. And yeah, that's what you should do, or you can do. I mean, that's the option that's available. I will quickly check if we have some news to share on Twitter as well. In case, if you come across anything on Twitter, any information, any leaks, any thing that you can share that might be helpful to you, to me, or to the people here, I think that'll be great. Thank you again, Danny Butcher. Thank you for this subscribe and the like as well. Really, really appreciate it. Should I play Henry or Estupinian? I think Estupinian does have better potential. I'm still bullish on the Newcastle team and the result against Brentford. I know it's going to be a tricky game. It's not going to be a very straightforward game, but I just feel that Newcastle are right up there, right? In terms of the defense, in terms of, yes, they've not kept enough clean sheets over the past few weeks. Those numbers could suggest you something different, but that's what it is. Still, they are a much better outfit. They have a lot more to play for as compared to Brentford. Yes, Brentford can still somehow finish in a European spot. I mean, that's absolutely a possibility as well. But I still think the Newcastle team overall is a much better team. And I think Estupinian, yes, he's facing Kane and the Tottenham team. But if they're able to shut up, Kane overall, I think Tottenham right now doesn't really have a lot of attacking, outlets. Yes, there is Son, not been in great form. You always have Richarlison or Kulusevski, etc. playing. Still not very convinced, and I think Estupinian is fine. Also because the fact that Estupinian can give you some good attacking threat, and Spurs don't really look that confident in defense, right? I mean, they are a team who look like they will defend very well or very nicely for majority of the game, but they do have mistakes in them, and they always tend to concede odd and stupid goals. Again, no disrespect to any Tottenham fans, but that's what it is. But Martinho, Mitoma, if you already have a double up playing or you have a double up in your team from the Brighton team, which is basically a Mitoma plus a McAllister, Mitoma plus a March, you basically bench Mitoma and play Martinelli. If there are no Brighton options in this team or in your team, I still would fancy a Brighton option over a Martinelli. Though in general, my take or my stance has been playing Martinelli over a March, for example, but that's most likely because of the fact that you already have a Brighton player playing. Hey Syed, hello to you. It's going great. I hope you're doing well as well. Play 3, bench 1. Saka, Martinelli, Marsh, and Mitoma. That's basically doubling up on Arsenal and Brighton. I think I'll definitely play Saka. I'll definitely play Martinelli. Sorry, I'll play Saka. I'll play Mitoma. And then I think it's a decision between March and Martinelli. I think I'll play Martinelli and take my chances against the Liverpool team. Slightly tougher fixture, trickier game, but I think Martinelli does have a lot of potential. Considering that he's going to play against Trent on that side, and Trent has been woeful in defense. I mean, we've already seen how bad of a defender he is, and I think Martinelli does have decent potential. Plus, I think it's close though, but I think Arsenal still are a better defense, better attack, sorry, than the Brighton attack. So I think that's where I'll be. Saka, Martinelli, and Mitoma would be the options that I play, and I'll bench March. Do you think Haaland will play the whole 90 minutes from the start? I don't think so. He's going to play 90 minutes for sure. I think there's a high possibility that he plays. Either he starts and plays if the result is kind of in the bag and they've already scored 3 or 4 goals. I think Haaland doesn't come out in the second half. If it's pretty close, maybe it's a 1-0, 0-0, 2-0, maybe not even 2-0. Maybe if it's still 1 goal, I think there's a high chance that Haaland comes out in the second half, plays 60. The third scenario is he comes in the last 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then he plays about half an hour. But I most likely, I don't think so he's going to play 90 minutes. Tony has got fixtures in 31-32 compared to Watkins, provided he doesn't get a card. That's the issue with Tony, the ban as well. I think a lot of people were saying that the ban is probably, or the hearing is going to conclude and the ban is going to kick in April. We have reached April. So again, do not have that information yet, but it's not going to, give us any warning. That information is just going to come out all guns blazing. And I think that's also a slight risk with Tony. But yeah, if you feel that he has better fixtures and he can give better returns, I think, you start him, you keep him, you buy him. Whatever the option here is. But I still think Watkins, yes, I know Villa has trickier fixtures, but Watkins is definitely in better form than Tony. I still feel that his overall involvement in Villa is slightly more than Tony for Brentford. Though Tony for Brentford is also very close because both are on penalties. Tony's also going to get penalties. He's also going to be on set pieces. He's creative. He can create chances for Brentford as well. But I still think the current form, the current run is slightly better for Watkins, and just by a little bit, I think Aston Villa are a slightly better attack than Brentford. Rashford or Watkins captain. Rashford is a safer option in case if you are looking to captain a slightly safer player, not go against the crowd by a lot. Of course, without going Haaland, you are anyways going against the crowd, I think. But if you are chasing, if you are wildly chasing, and if you feel that you need to catch up on points, you need to catch up on rank, maybe in your mini league, etc., you're falling far behind. I think this is a slightly better week to do a little bit. I mean, go a little bit differential, do things a little bit differently, and then maybe Watkins as captain because Watkins does have a good fixture at home. He's been in good form. Forest away, yeah. I mean, there are points to be had there. I think depending on your risk appetite, I think you can go Watkins. Otherwise, Rashford is good. Mahrez or Grealish, only have Haaland for now. Both options are great. Mahrez is more explosive. I mean, he can give you those double-digit hauls. Grealish is somebody who's more creative, who doesn't have a lot of goal threat, but is more nailed, right? So I think depends on you, how you're reading the game, how you're seeing this, and how you're seeing this out. Do you think that minutes are more important to you? If that is, then Grealish is the pick for you. If you feel that you're okay, maybe letting go of minutes, but you want an explosive option, a slightly more explosive option, I think Maya is the one to go for. Overall, I still feel Grealish is, if it's a very short term punt, maybe a week or two, I think it's Mahrez for the short term. Yes, there is that Champions League games well, and I think he's always preferred in the Champions League games, but I don't think so. Pep has a lot of options on the other side of the attack, which is either the left or the right now, considering that Foden's also out. So I think for the short term still, I think Mahrez is the better option. Grealish, if you're looking for 34 option, I think Grealish is the one to go for. Start Tony or Mitoma. I'll start Mitoma. Fernandes, Tony to Haaland, Jesus, Grealish for a -4. If this move is basically keeping 32 in mind, I think you getting Gabriel Jesus, I think is a great option, but not at the expense of Haaland. I think if it's between Haaland and Jesus, I don't think so. It's a conversation. I still would go Haaland and Grealish for Fernandes and Tony. I think that's where I will be. Start Zinchenko for his attacking potential, or Botman is second Newcastle defense. Also starting Tony. It's conflicting strategy here, but I think Liverpool can still score against Arsenal. I know it's a trickier game, but somebody like a Salah still has okay potential as compared to maybe Tony. I'm still bullish on the Newcastle defense and keeping a clean sheet, and I think that's the reason I'll go Botman as a second Newcastle defense. I know it's basically contradicting your attacker because Tony is going to face Newcastle, and I think a goal from him can absolutely demolish those clean sheet points. But I think I'll still take my chance with a Botman. Will Haaland start or get benched? Likely that he's gonna get benched, maybe get minutes from the bench, but I think he's definitely gonna get minutes. Going ahead with this team, Ward, Trippier, White, Share, Bruno Fernandes, March, Rashford, Benrahma, Martinelli, Kane, Haaland. Subs are David here, Tony, Diop, and me. This. Do let me know what transfer you made because I've forgotten your earlier team. But yeah, this looks okay. Looks like a strong midfield as well. Martinelli and Benrahma are really good options as well. Benching Tony is fine. I think it's not the more. A lot of people are selling Tony. His ownership is going to be low. And I think there could be a fair few as well who bench him this week as well. So especially for a lot of managers who are doubling up on the Newcastle defense and playing the Newcastle defense, they might want to back their Newcastle defenders as compared to going for a Tony. So I think that's fine. Dawson out, Sharon looks absolutely fine. Looks like a good move. Overall, a good team. Saving Tony for 31-32, which is okay. That's absolutely fine. Salah and Tony to Haaland and Saka for a -4. Salah to basically Saka, Tony to Haaland. I think it's fine. I'll take a hit for it. I could bench Tony and start McAllister. Your dilemma is the same as mine. Seems counteractive to. It does seem counteractive to be very honest to start Tony on Newcastle defense, but I like the punt against Tony sellers. If you feel that you can actually gain some points here and try to be a little different, go against the Tony sellers. That's an absolutely fine way to look at it. Why not go for it? Should I start Navas over Raya as I'm already starting Pinnock, or double up on the Brentford defense? Doubling up on the Brentford defense looks a bit much. But then again, Navas is playing Villa, right? Isn't the most ideal. He would still get us a few saves in, maybe an odd clean sheet. Still not very sure, but I'll still take my chances and play Navas over Raya, considering that you already have Pinnock. So personally, I won't double up on the Brentford defense this week. Guys, about half an hour to go. Again, this is probably another week where there will be a lot of Haaland transfers in. So don't keep it till the very late. Don't keep it till the very end. Maybe not even till the last 15, 20 minutes. Try to get in your transfers in right now, or maybe in the next 10 odd minutes, because I think there's a high chance that servers, etc., might crash. But and we've seen that in the past. A lot of players, a lot of managers, me included, have got done by those website crashes and the server crashes. So be it on the app, be it on web, I think just get in there and make the moves early. Save in your teams as well. I think that was an advice last week as well. I think a lot of people, in fact, there were a fair amount of people who DM'd me, after the deadline, that they forgot to save their bench boost teams and the bench boost in general. So do save the team whatever you're choosing as your 11, and then just get it out of the way, slightly before the deadline. It's still about 25 minutes to go, so please drop in your questions, any comments, anything that you would want to add. Feel free to please drop all of that stuff in the chat. March or Odegaard to start? Depends on your second Brighton option. In case if you do not have one, and maybe you have Saka, I think in that scenario you start March. In case if you, let's say if you already have a Mitoma, so you basically have a Mitoma and a Saka starting, then I think the decision becomes a little interesting. It's Odegaard versus Liverpool and then March versus Tottenham. It's not a huge difference between the two. And I think Odegaard is fine, especially when you have somebody like a Mitoma starting. But if you do not have any Brighton options starting, irrespective of whether you have Saka or not, I'll still start March over Odegaard. Seeing a lot of tweets about Haaland's ownership. I think people are predicting his ownership to be as high as 150, 160. Might be true as well, considering how many people have transferred Haaland at the last moment. I think it could be very interesting. About 500k managers have transferred in Haaland, and I think this number was very less. It was very, very less yesterday only. I think I did check this number and it was way off. And I think it's also kind of made people's mind right after seeing those pictures in training and after Pep saying that he's fine and he should be okay. Now that could also mean that Haaland gets a rest and he gets benched, but I still think Haaland is gonna get involved, and I think there is enough potential for him to score against Southampton. Hey Soumya, hello to you. Welcome to the stream. Confused between Haaland or Rashford. I'm assuming this is in terms of captaincy. I think again, depending on your position, right? So I am at a position where I'm at 30k, planning to get into 10k. I think this is a week where I necessarily don't have to do things differently. I think because of what we've seen already from Haaland in terms of pictures, in terms of Pep's comments, I think there'll be a lot of panicking managers or managers who are struggling to go against Haaland. I think I'm one of them. I necessarily don't see a risk to go on a Watkins or a Rashford, considering my rank and considering my strategy. And I think I'm okay captaining Haaland. If you're chasing in the game, if you feel that you're far off, you're way behind, and you need to catch up, I think Watkins is a great option. And again, if Watkins is not in your team, if maybe you think it's a step too far, then I think Rashford is also okay this week. I think the second, if I had to rate all these options, depending on how safer I would want to go or I'm going, I think it's Haaland, Rashford, and then Watkins. And if you feel that Haaland is maybe not going to get minutes and you are okay taking a bit of a chance here, because of the fact that you're very confident he's going to get limited minutes, you go Rashford. Can take a punt on Watkins for captain, given Haaland. I mean, yeah, you can take a punt on Watkins as well, but again, depends on how much is at stake for you, and what is your position in terms of rank, etc. How much are you willing to lose? How much do you think, or how much are you convinced of Haaland getting benched and getting limited minutes, and maybe those minutes not turning into a goal? So I'm a little scared, and I've been very honest about it over the week. Um, the initial plan was also to get in Haaland this week. When I took him out, of course, the injury, etc. I mean, not having proper updates last week, I think made up the mind for a lot of managers. But yeah, seeing him in training and seeing a lot of the stuff, going around online, I think it's fine to go in Haaland as a safer strategy. I mean, you pick your battles and you choose your fight. You don't have to go differential or be different for the sake of being different. I'm gonna wildcard who is the best 4.5 million defender apart from Mings. You think? I think if you already have Mings, of course you would not want to go Moreno. But in case if Mings is not in your consideration set, I think Moreno could be a decent pick. I think one of the West Ham options is also a pick, especially considering that you. I'm assuming that you're picking this team again. I don't know if you are playing a free hit or not in 32, but I'm assuming you would want a doubler or you would at least want to attack the game week 34 fixtures, especially when you are wildcarding this week. I think one of the West Ham defenders is also fine. I think Egward is expensive. Maybe you go towards a Zuma. I think Zuma is 4.4. We'll just quickly check Zuma's price as well. Zuma is 4.4. I think you can go for him. I think he's pretty much nailed in that West Ham defense. Not the most ideal set of fixtures. M31 is Arsenal. 32 is great. 30 is great as well. But then 33 is Liverpool. And then 34 is Palace and Man City. So maybe not expecting much against Man City. But I think Palace is a game where they can do well. Yeah, so you're going to free hit in 32. So you necessarily don't have to worry about the 32 blank fixtures. And I think less than 4.5, not a lot of options come out or stand out. I mean, there aren't any cheaper options from Liverpool. Now that Liverpool are really keeping a lot of clean sheets, you may not even want to go for. I mean, Man City options are also not as cheap as a 4.5 option. Walker is 4.7, but again, he's 4.7, so he's not really an option for you. Yeah, I mean, I think these would be. It's probably going to be between a Villa defender or a West Ham defender. I think that's where I will be. Even if you look at other teams, right? I mean, you look at a Brighton team, but I'm assuming a lot of people would already, or you would already have an Estupinian in your team. If not, then maybe how much is Veltman? I think Veltman is also less than 4.5. 4.6. So yeah, I mean, he's also not an option. Best defender for 4.6 million, getting out Shaw. I mean, if you're getting out Shaw, I mean, Crystal Palace is another team I don't think so a lot of people are considering because of the fact that they do not have doubles. They also don't have a blank, but again, the Crystal Palace at the end of the day, I mean, they could be okay. The expectation is that Roy Hudson would make that defense a lot better. So I think, I mean, maybe go for somebody like a Guehi, for example. He's 4.4. He's cheaper. Anderson as well. I think he's pretty much nailed in that team. I mean, it's a risk. It's a big risk for sure. But yeah, Crystal Palace is another team that comes to mind, which again, not a lot of people are going for. Aston Villa, if you're not looking at if you're looking at free hitting in 32, then I think you necessarily don't have to get in a Villa defender. But I think Villa defense this week is fine. It's Forest. 33 is also Fulham. Not the worst set of fixtures. Not sure whether you have the bench boost available or not, but I think Villa would have been great. But considering that you're already free hitting in 32, I don't think so. It's an option. I mean, you can go for West Ham defense as well. As I said earlier, you can go for Zuma 4.4. I agree that it's not the best defense out there, but they have two good fixtures in 30 and 32, which is Fulham and Bournemouth. And they have a double as well. I know it's against Man City, so they might end up conceding 3 or 4 goals, but the other fixtures against Palace, and I think that could be a better game. So yeah, I think Martinez is somebody I'm considering because first of all, I don't think so Shaw is going to be out for a very long time. So if I'm preferring or prioritizing a defender from the United team, I still think it's gonna be Shaw because of the fact that he's quite attacking and he's also on set pieces. He's good for bonus points as well if United keep a clean sheet. Martinez is gonna get most minutes. I don't see a scenario where Martinez doesn't start games, but I still think it's not a lot, right? You're not getting a lot from. And plus, let's say if you, and again, if you already have a David De Gea, getting Martinez is basically 2 defenders, not the most ideal thing. If you already have Fernandes, or maybe no Fernandes, but I'm assuming you would have Rashford in. and that kind of blocks you from getting Shaw later if you want, because you already have a Martinez. Because I'm still very confident that Shaw is gonna play in 33, 34 as well, especially for the double in 34. I think Shaw is a much better option, and that's the reason I'm not very bullish on a Martinez. Start Zuma or Botman. If it's this week, I still think I mean, Fulham at home are still a good team. Yes, they don't have Mitrovic as their main striker, and I still think they can score. And I think Botman is fine. I know. I think this question would be the fact that you already have Trippier, and maybe you're confused in terms of starting the second, Newcastle defender or not. I think there is potential for going a bit heavy on the Newcastle defense, being bullish and backing them to get a clean sheet. I know it's away for Newcastle, home for Brentford. Brentford have been stronger at home, and then Tony can absolutely demolish this clean sheet. But I think Newcastle are still, when you compare apple to apple, right? Irrespective of the fixture, just in isolation, Botman and Newcastle are a much better defense than Azuma. So I think, and then we come to matchups as well. I think Botman has better potential this week. Tony or Havertz to Haaland. I think I'll keep Havertz, see him for a week, and then maybe move him on to a different option. In case if you are in case you have free hitting in 32, I think you keep Havertz. In case if you're not free hitting in 32 and Havertz would have a blank in 32, then you sell Havertz. I think that's what essentially the decision would be. Free hit without free hit, I think that's the call you take. Me to Mings or Madison to Grealish for a -4 to afford Haaland. Me to Mings is absolutely fine. Madison to Grealish for a... I mean, Madison is not an essential move this week. I think I'm okay doing me to Mings. Gives you a fixture in 32. Again, me and Mings are not really a huge difference in 34. And then you see Grealish for one more week, and then you basically move him on, or you get to him later on. But I think me to Mings, if you can get in Haaland by me to Mings, I think you do that. What are the chances of Havertz getting benched? I still think Havertz is going to start. He's been one of the more regular attackers. I mean, there's something going on with Oba, and I don't think so. He's going to play. He's going to get minutes. I think Havertz has been one of the most consistent players for Chelsea in attack, and I think that's probably going to continue. Now, with Lampard coming in, yes, you may think that Mount comes in, maybe Havertz loses his place. Maybe there's a slight structural change when we talk about Lampard and his formations, but I still think Havertz is going to get minutes and he's going to start this game. Mings in, me out is, or I mean, yeah, that's what I said. Mings in, me out is the option to go for. If again, if this facilitates the Haaland move. Edison plus Dallo or David De Gea plus Stones on a wildcard. I'll still go. I think I mean, I would want Shaw. That's the reason I'm not very... I mean, I don't like the idea of going David De Gea because it then blocks me to go towards the Shaw later. And then I can maximize with those two attacking options from United. Whether I go Fernandes, whether I go Rashford. I mean, I'll definitely would go Rashford. But who would I go for in the second United attack? Because I still prefer two United attackers as compared to one or two defenders, sorry. So I think I still prefer the idea of going David De Gea plus Stones. Stones is a bit tricky. Maybe I look towards an Akanji or an Ake. I think the price is not a huge difference. Let me just quickly check the price as well. So Stones is for 5.4. I think Nathan Ake or Akanji are better picks. I think you can definitely get one of them, and then... I mean, yeah, it's still not very... I mean, I like the idea of going Edison because it kind of gives you the safety in terms of the Man City defense, but Dallo isn't ideal. He is going to get more minutes, but if I'm looking at one defender from the United team, I think it's still going to be Shaw. So I'll reluctantly take my chances with David De Gea plus Stones, one of Akanji or Ake. I think that's where I'll go. Who to start in defense? Trippier, Henry, Estupinian, or Botman. Trippier, Henry, Estupinian, or Ben White. My bad. I mean, is it one of these? Or I don't know how many, but I think the order would be Trippier, Estupinian, and White. I think that will be the order. Out of one of these, I think, of course, it'll be Trippier as a safer option. Start Botman or Mings. I'll start Mings. I'm starting Trippier. Best defender to bring in. If this is as a Shaw replacement, then you take a decision between a Man City. If you have that money, that much money, I think Man City defense could be great this week. Slight risk in terms of minutes, but I think you're preparing yourself for 34 and a decent. I mean, who are they playing in 33? Let me just quickly check. 33 is Arsenal, so I think that's not the most ideal picture, but I think it's still fine. And it's great if you're free hitting in 32, right? So you are basically, I mean, you don't really care about the blank in 32 because you can easily take this defender out, which is a Man City defender in this case. Otherwise, if you are looking to get a doubler for 34, I think West Ham is also an option, gives you a fixture in 32 as well. If you feel that you don't need that volume, I think an Aston Villa defender, maybe a Mings is also fine. He does give you a fixture in 32 and is also playing in 34, so I think that's okay. I think these three would be the direction that I look at. If you do not have somebody like a Chilwell already or an Estupinan already, I think Chilwell is also not a must buy because the fact that he blanks in 32 and then he's facing Brighton, which I'm not really expecting a clean sheet game for Chelsea. I think Brighton will score against Chelsea. I know it's an away game for Brighton, home game for Chelsea, but I still think there is potential for Brighton to get a goal or maybe even more there. Then there's Brentford at home, Arsenal away, not the most easy set of fixtures. So I think 32 is the time where you can get off Chilwell. That's the reason I don't think so. You need to buy him this week. I think there are better options to go for, unless you are worried about Chilwell's potential and his ownership and you want to play safe. Start Trent, Odegaard, or Iheanacho. I would have loved to start Iheanacho, but it's just that he's not been giving us anything at all, and that's the worry. He's not even giving us minutes. I mean, let alone returns. He's still a great option, a great differential. So in case if you wanna back that, you back that. But I'll be wary of starting Iheanacho. Though he looks like an explosive differential this week. Among Trent and Odegaard, I'll still start Odegaard because of the fact that he's an attacker, and I think Trent can definitely lose a clean sheet. Considering how Liverpool have been playing, I still expect them to concede against Arsenal. I know it's home for Liverpool at Anfield. It's a different vibe, and there's more potential for Liverpool to keep a clean sheet, the fans behind them and all that stuff. But I think if I'm starting one of the three options, I think the safest would be Odegaard. Then I'll possibly go Trent and Iheanacho at the end. I think Trent and Iheanacho can be replaced in either positions, considering how you feel about Iheanacho and his minutes, because I'm not very confident of him getting starts. But yeah, I mean, if you're going risky, then you go Iheanacho. But yeah, I think number one is definitely going to be Odegaard in whatever scenario. Guys, about 10 more minutes to go. Please feel free to drop in any more questions, anything that you want to add, etc. Please do save your teams. You get in the right captaincy switch. I mean, whatever, if you plan to get in Haaland, you get him in, you take the player out and save your team, save your captaincy, but do save your teams. I think that's really, really important. Best defender to bring in. I have mentioned this, but again, if it's, I still feel you go towards Newcastle, you go towards West Ham if you're trying to get a doubler for 34. If you don't have the bench boost, for example, and if you just want to save some money in, get in this player as your fifth defender. Maybe you look at Aston Villa as well. I think so. You're basically taking out me and getting a different option. Depends again on your whether you're playing your free hit in 32 or not. If you're not playing your free hit in 32, basically try to get in an Arsenal defender as well. I think that may not be the worst shout out of all the players. A Newcastle defender is an option as well. I think those are better options than a West Ham defender, especially when you're not free hitting in 32. Would you do a McAllister to a Grealish for a -4? Already have Mitoma and March. I personally won't. I think McAllister to Grealish for a -4. So basically you're taking on McAllister. I think if you already have Mitoma and March, I think there is enough reason for you to go towards the Grealish for a hit. May not pay it off or may not pay off this week, so be aware of that. Though Grealish does have a good fixture, though he's expected to start as well. I think if this option is also kind of taking care of that 34 double as well, I think it's fine. Plus McAllister, Mitoma and March. I know Brighton are Brighton and they've been playing really well. They are maybe a top 2, top 3 attack right now in the league, but I still think a triple up is a bit too much, and I'll possibly just stick to to two options and spread that risk a little bit by maybe going towards a Grealish. So Grealish is also not a very safe or maybe the safest pick out there, but I think for a hit also is fine. Though I don't think so it's going to pay off this week. Don't whether to captain Haaland for a hit. Don't think it's worth to not captain or Shaw to me for another defender or role with Rashford captain. I think it's fine. I'm assuming you would want Haaland next week as well rather than just do the move this week. If you're not very confident of Haaland as captain, you at least safeguard some percentage of owning Haaland because I think his ownership is definitely going to be more than 100%. And it's because of that fact, I think, why to lose rank over a player who you could easily get in this week? Even if you don't captain him, is fine. You captain Rashford, but you get in Haaland and just play it safe there. I don't think so. There is a lot of risk required in that scenario. Plus, you, as I said earlier, right? You would anyways want him next week, and I think just make the move 1 week earlier. I think it's fine. City defense. I think Stones, especially in the fact that he played in that sort of midfield inverted wingback role, I think that was very interesting. Now, whether that's going to continue, whether Stones is going to get more minutes, I'm still not very sure, or I'm still not sold there. But I think players like Akanji or Nathan Ake, I think is a safe option, comparatively safer. I'm saying this with a slight warning signal there, but I think going for Nathan Ake should be okay. Though, don't get surprised if any of these defenders gets benched, and you see other players starting. Considering that there's a lot of Champions League focus, and I think Pep would definitely want to focus on the Champions League games as well, and the game as well, over 2 legs. So I think Nathan Ake is absolutely fine. You are saving 0.3, 0.4 as well. I don't think so. Yes, Diaz is probably the most nailed option, but we've seen that in the past as well. That Ruben Diaz is also not 100% safe. He can also get benched. I think I missed this comment. Dare you to go for a Watkins captain? I am personally not going to take that risk. I'm at that stage where I don't have to take that risk, considering I'm 30k and I'm planning to go 10k. I don't have to reset 10k right now because the rank in game week 38 matters, not in game week 31 or 30. And I think this is a week where I feel that it's okay going safe and safeguarding against Haaland captaincy, because I think a lot of people are moving into that direction. I've already seen 500k transfers happen for Haaland. I mean, the amount by which it's increasing, it's absolutely crazy. It's 520k already, and I think in the next 5 minutes or so I might reach 550 or even 600k. I may not reach 600k, but yeah, that's the rate at which people are transferring in Haaland, and I'm actually a little scared. Came back to say Rashford is confirmed to start though the middle versus Everton, which is great. I think that's great for his potential as well. I mean, I still feel that his preferred position is still on the left, and I know he's been scoring a lot of goals this season, but I think still his position or his best position is playing from the wide left. But yeah, I mean, great potential anyways. I mean, even if whatever position Rashford plays, I think there is still great potential for Haaland, for Haaland to not outscore Rashford. FPL Focal chose Tony and bench Mitoma. What do you think of that? I mean, that's fine. It's FPL Focal. I think every manager has a different way of playing FPL and approach FPL. I don't think so if somebody, or maybe a content creator, or maybe a popular content creator, if that they are playing FPL in that way, you have to play FPL that way. As far as I remember, I think he did captain Salah as well, maybe last week. I'm not sure. And I think Salah did okay. I mean, nothing great. I think there were better captaincy options last week. So again, it depends on how, what you are thinking and what you feel is the right call. And you may not agree with me. You may have a different opinion, and I think somebody else might have a different opinion, which is absolutely fine. Is Haaland a guaranteed start? He's not a guaranteed start for sure. We've not had any leaks or any information which says that Haaland is starting for sure. So I think it's not a confirmed thing that Haaland is going to start. Why Chilwell over Estepinian? I think Tottenham score in that game. That's the reason I think I'm not going Estepinian. The reason I'm going Chilwell is because it's Wolves. Wolves are playing at home. Wolves at home are the worst team in the league in terms of goal scoring. I think they've scored the least amount of goals when playing at home. I mean, to be very honest, it's even if they play away, I don't think so. They have the potential to score many goals. I think they probably bottom, if not maybe second last or last in terms of goals scored across the season. So there is potential for Chilwell to get a clean sheet, and anything over that is a bonus. And I think the way Chilwell has been playing, the amount of attacking plays that he's involved himself in, I think there is potential that Chilwell also gets an attacking turn this game, and that's the reason I've played Chilwell over Estupinian. Estupinian is playing for Brighton, and Brighton do have a tendency to concede chances because of the fact that they play front foot football, and they play a very attacking from the word go. They do tend to drop a lot of space in between, and I think Harry Kane can definitely score against Brighton. Havertz to Alvarez won't do it. Alvarez is a very short-term punt. May not even get 90 minutes this week, and I personally won't do it. I'll still keep Havertz. If this was Havertz to Haaland, I think it would have been a very different conversation. But no, I won't do Havertz to Alvarez. Start David De Gea or Kepa. I think out of the two, I mean Kepa is still fine. I mean both options are great, but I think I'll start Kepa. Wolves again, as I mentioned, don't score a lot of goals. Bench one of McAllister, March, or Mitoma. I think I'll bench McAllister. March has good stats. Mitoma good on the eye test. McAllister has been underperforming, not an elite finisher. Can't depend on. Yes, he's on penalties, but I don't think so. He's going to get penalties every game, so I think it's fine. You play March and Mitoma if that's the call, and then you bench McAllister. Have Salah who can't get in Haaland right now, which is okay, but I still don't think getting in Alvarez is the right call because it's a very short-term move. You might have to take him out in next week anyways. Even if you get him in this week, you may get 60 minutes from him, maybe get a couple of goals, but it's a transfer waiting to happen in the future. I don't think so. He's a player that will retain his place, for a longer time because Haaland is definitely going to play in that attacking role. And I don't see a scenario where Pep plays both Haaland and Alvarez together. I mean, it's unlikely that's going to happen. Great, guys. That's deadline. Thank you so much again for joining. All the best for Game Week 30. I think it's another very interesting game week where a lot of people. I think it's going to be decided by what happens with Haaland. If he gets a start and if he scores a couple of goals, maybe a hat trick, etc. I think that will be great. If not, then I think it opens up people or opens up potential for people who've gone for Rashford captaincy or Watkins captaincy. So I think that Man City lineup is gonna make or break the game week for a lot of people. Good that it's today, and we'll possibly get an idea of what's happening with our game week today, because I don't think so. A lot of people do have many options from that Liverpool Arsenal team. Yes, maybe one option, one player from the Arsenal team. I don't think so. A lot of people have gone for Salah as well. So I think that's that. But yeah, thank you so much again. We'll keep it short this time, and we'll see you guys next week. Do tune in for a lot of content that we'll be doing this week as well. Of course, it's been happening all throughout, but yeah, there'll be a deadline stream next week as well, plus the podcast, which is the long form content that we do, plus the regular videos on YouTube will follow, a lot of stuff on Instagram. So do make sure that you keep a check on all of that good stuff. Like and subscribe if you've not done that so far. Thank you so much again for joining, and it was lovely chatting with you all, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.